chat. Let's get to watching Nat's coverage. I've been wanting to watch this. I hear there are some pretty interesting games, especially towards the end of it. I really want to watch a lot of these Verdance games. My intent with this is to mostly focus on watching the Gravy and Verdance games, or at least that's where most of my focus is going to be. Probably engage with chat a bit more during the other games, because those are two decks that I plan on learning in the downtime coming up, because I'm not going to Singapore. So I'm going to use all this time between now and Worlds to get a couple other decks under my belt. I basically just have Azalea and Prism's decks that I feel pretty comfortable bringing to a major, and I would like to up the number of decks that I can play. I was working on the Verdance deck a bit with Lucas leading up to this event, and kind of watching him and learning with him how to play the deck. I never really intended on bringing it to Nats because I knew I didn't have enough time to learn it, but I figured while he was working on the deck, I could utilize that time to learn a bit with him. But I fully intend on learning that deck in this downtime, and of course Gravy Bones. You know I gotta play the Ally deck, you know I gotta do that. I also love Necromancer as a class in other games. It's one of my favorites. I love pet classes. I love ally classes. So Necro is one of my favorites. Though I do not vibe with the aesthetic. I'm unfortunately not a big pirate person. I'm not a big Pirates of the Caribbean person. It's all right. It's not my cup of tea, or cup of gravy, I should say. But I love Necromancer all the same. I'm just going to ignore the art on the cards and just move around my cardboard pieces and just only care about the images on them. That's true, that's true. But in all reality, like, the type of Necromancer I fuck with is the type that's like more of a more like a Viscerize aesthetic, that like Rune Knighty style, or like a Bone Mage, that like more gothic style of Necro. I don't fuck with pirates. I like armor. I like that Spellbladey type. Gravy Bones. At least he's pretty goofy. I do enjoy the puns, so I'll at least get a kick out of that. And thanks for joining the chat, Julian. God, I can never pronounce your thing. Torn Machine Gene. All right, let's get to watching coverage and cracking some packs. It's a little late, so I might be a little less chatty than normal. I guess I'll get the stream going while I get out the packs.
Welcome to the World Tour, Las Vegas, baby. It is time.
Please let me know if the audio is okay and if I need to adjust anything.
I am Brian Gottlieb. That is Pankaj Bhajwani. Pankaj, high seas. You ready to set sail? You ready to seek that horizon, my friend?
Aye, matey. Get your peg legs and your hooks and your eye patches ready, folks, because this is high season release weekend, and we have U.S. Nationals that's going to kick off.
I'm going to skip all the filler for the future games, but while people are still filtering in, I'm just going to leave this filler section on. Plus, I want to see their intro.
To me, this is kind of the easiest Flesh and Blood season to explain to your friends, to your family, to your non-indoctrinated TCG players. You say, I'm out to become the national champion of Flesh and Blood, the best player in the nation. Evan Herndon back in the building to try and defend that title. You remember, you go back 2 years, Evan Herndon was a runner-up. He tried to actually walk in and steal the trophy before the tournament even started. Pankaj tackled him as he tried to run out the door. So he is going to have to play today. He's going to be our round one feature. But I want to set the stage for exactly what we are playing for. Of course, that national pride is on the line. The ability to go ahead.
Oh, let's save all the gold packs for the end. I might actually even save them for next stream.
But there's
I also have...
And here are those dollars you see. First place,
spilled all my shit.
10.
Got some gold foils that I need to open as well. I think I'll do that next stream, because we're not getting to all the coverage today. Oh my god, I just spilled everything. Oh my god, I'm fucking stupid.
Exclusive playmat along the way. Then you head down to second place.
Speaking of exclusive playmat for Nationals, we are doing 3 cases.
All the way down to 32nd place, taking home 250 USD for a grand total of 50K on the line.
I love how you brought up that this is one of the events that's very easy to explain to the layperson that you're playing for the national champion. You know what else is very easy to explain, Brian? 50,000 USD prize pool. That's something everyone understands.
A lot of dollars in your pocket. Of course, our world tour this year loaded up with that cash.
Is audio good?
1.5
Ooh, got a blood in the water
on offer as we move throughout the world tour.
I was looking at prices earlier. It blew my mind. The
your home country of Singapore,
H-pot potion that just came out. The watery grave E-pot, watery grave H-pot was like $50 or something. I was like, what the heck?
Get to the other national champions, I believe they would want to know
which amulet is that?
Legal, at that point. So with that,
Got a undercover acquisition.
The LL leaderboard.
I don't know the names of like most of the cards.
All over the world, all these players need to have a wary eye on this list right here, because one of these top 3 heroes could very well not be legal.
The H-pot one?
Yeah,
I already have one if you want it.
Take them out of the next week of nationals. Dash IE, new Azalea, all capable of LLing.
I think basically everything here is going to be for sale too if you guys want anything. I buy and sell cards, so like if you guys ever want anything, let me know. It's all for sale. People locally are going to get priority on stuff though. And if you ever want to sell anything, I'm always buying Flesh and Blood cards and other TCGs, so feel free to let me know what you got.
How you feeling about that hero's chances in this metagame?
I think we can go ahead and skip forward a bit.
So one thing to point out, a lot of people thought, oh, you can just fatigue her every time, because
I walked by, what was it? No, it was, we were going to Caesar's Palace for a buffet thing, and I'm pretty sure Evan was in our group, and he was talking shit about Dash, being like, man, that was not the deck to bring to this event. That was so funny. God, it was such an adventure trying to find the place. We could not figure out how the hell to get to Caesars through the tram system. It was, we were struggling dealing with that. It's so funny. I miss the Tokyo train system. Even not being able to read anything, I could still figure it out easier than anywhere else in the world. I can do a story time if you guys want. I haven't really like thought too much about it. Definitely not doing that while opening packs. I can't maintain a stream of thought that well while opening packs. Maybe later. Maybe tomorrow. I'm definitely going to be doing more streams because I want to watch all of the coverage minus the drafts. So, get to that later.
To overcome an assassin, and this can be tough for these Dash IOs, and it's not just any assassin. It's a Marvel Arachne slipped through the cracks, ready to do its thing.
Is he playing anything funny?
The local of yours, Punkage.
Absolutely, I was just going to bring that up. Andy actually beat me in one of the finals of our locals, one of our local games.
You know what would be cute for him to do too? Play the I don't know if you can only play them if you're a pirate. I don't think so. The new gold gloves, you play that with the this piece of equipment here, so that way you can block with both of them and then just sack the item that you make and galvanize it.
Stars was having a 2.5k. We met in the finals. He beat me. That's why he's in a feature match era, and I'm here in the booth.
I think if I do it, it'll just be like story time during stream, and then I'll clip it if I feel like it. I usually don't do story time stuff. I probably should. Ooh, got a Conqueror of the High Seas. I don't know if this is a tall tale or not, but apparently Majin got attacked with this in the finals and made a comment saying how you can't block with D-Reacts to Command and Conquer anyways and just let his Sink Below and Arsenal get blown up. I don't know if that's true.
Some Slippies prefer the unconditional go again in the form of Snapdragon Scalers, but Andy's saying he wants the one block from Black Tech Whispers, and when you get into Dash IO, it's effectively unconditional go again anyway. They're not really going to
got an Everbloom Life.
Your attacks,
got all the Majestics from this box right away.
So Evan Herndon's offense on this turn one, just a yellow zipper head, not that impressive. Did also lose a
the setup turn is like nice and all. Is this turn 0 that he got the setup?
Heroes not starting at 40 live, not something. It's an absolute.
Okay, 2 items, turn 0 plus an arsenal. That's pretty sick.
Yellow zipper head, not that impressive. Did also lose a Cerebellum processor to the Tekla Foundry Heart, but really set up the items very well.
If that's actually true, what happened? I guess he thought that you couldn't block D-Reacts on it.
Heroes not starting at 40 live, not something you see very often. Just goes to show how strong these heroes are. Speaking of strong plays, Andy here starting with a Saber Bloodshed.
Yeah, for my money, this is one of the most.
Yeah, I'll talk to Jacob about that later. I'm surprised he. Ooh, got a foil Everbloom Life. Nice. And a King Kraken Harpoon.
Value 0 for 4. And
so surely that's the last hit in the box.
Way more capable of getting aggressive than these other assassins.
Flicking already is Andy to get
looks like this is the more more dagger focused version of Arachne. Actually, that wouldn't make sense for it to be this version of Arachne, right? So you just drew the dagger stuff early, I guess? Because you'd want to do that as Mario.
Yeah, luckily is a yellow.
Ooh, wow, what a great box. We got a Marvel Marlin.
Leads to so many unique, interesting situations for these assassins.
Is the focus good on this, guys?
Arachne slipped through the cracks, taking advantage of this card, maybe better than anyone else.
Oh.
Although
That's
against
sick.
Dash.io, not too
That definitely
many
gets a
cards you
sleeve.
have to play, and
That definitely
is
gets a
one of the
sleeve.
cards you are happy to play,
Okay.
actually. Techno card, you
What
can
a
play
great
two
first
free resources
box.
Each turn, that's effectively a free dagger swing, or even potentially paying for like a CNC.
Yeah, that's an interesting
Also,
one.
do you guys like this dual screen setup that I have right now?
The turn goes on.
Like, is either of these too small?
So now he has to contend. If he wants to play an attack, he no longer... This does not have go again. Arachne slipped through the cracks, gives go again to the first stealth attack, so that was already consumed by the infiltrate. So perhaps
Yeah, that was
Evan, maybe saying,
that was a pretty fire box. That I think this box was more money than the case. Because this is probably like 50 bucks. This is probably like 200, right?
Prognosis often is.
Sheesh.
He has to deduce what that.
Actually,
last
that's not
card
more than
is
the
in Andy's
case.
hand,
What am
and
I
that's why we
what am
saw
I
Evan,
talking about?
Slow down a little bit here. Evan was just signing up for damage up until this moment. Now having to think though, is looking to move that Tekla Foundry heart forward for defenses here, and has read the hand.
Yeah,
well.
that makes sense.
Andy
There's
Hong,
no
additional follow-up there.
reactions probably behind that.
And now we're back to Evan Herndon with a full 5-card grip ready to
I
go with
guess,
2 items.
how do I
set
want
up
to do
in
this?
play.
I don't want to leave that there because that's where the glare is.
Interaction against Dash.io specifically, because Dash.io knows the color of the top card. Of the
Oh god,
deck.
but there's
So they can
massive
say,
glare
okay,
on
even
that.
if this hits, what can you possibly take from me? And then they can decide accordingly. Evan, of course, didn't need to deal with that since there was no
That's
pop,
better.
but have to point out that as well.
Oh, it's only
Evan has
150?
information
Unfortunate.
That Andy does not have an attack reaction in that arsenal, and that is the sort of thing you have to keep track of when you are playing against an assassin.
Oh, he started with pot agreed?
Play as much as what they did play, and so you know what to play around with.
It wasn't until like I started messing around with Dash.io a little bit that I realized, wait a minute, Spark of Genius is just Codex in this deck.
Go into the deck, find the best card for the situation. I suspect it's Cerebellum Processor, as it often is when you search with Spark of Genius these days.
Man, who
That's gonna
thought
up
pot
the
agreed
offense
that
in this
always
and
draws
even
another pot
further
agreed
for
was a
Evan
good
Herndon.
idea?
This dynamic at the start of the game is already so incredibly fascinating because of the Techlocar banish of the
Got a Aeronaut.
and the boom grenade.
Aeronaut? Aeronaut?
Andy Hong is already incentivized to block out. You can just block out completely, use a whole hand on defense, and then just play the Techlocar. And so you still get to do something on your turn while denying Evan the boom grenade value. But the question is, can Evan get over the defenses that Andy Hong wants?
All your codexes are in Living Legend.
Just resolve the Spark of Genius.
That Sync Below in hand also.
You had them.
Andy
The deck was too
to
good.
do some
Got a
defending on this
compliance.
particular turn cycle, but as you said, Ponkage, it feels like the ball is in Evan's court at this moment. If he picks up enough offense, can potentially break through.
Yeah, she's probably not going to show up. Ooh, got a Cogworks Tinker Rings. This case is nuts.
Here to get that draw off the Cerebellum Processor rolling.
I think that she's going to end up
Still
showing up
very,
once
very
we
full grip.
lose
Really wants to get value out of this first boom grenade.
Evan doing
Azalea.
some pushing over here. Did the draw the Cerebellum?
Also, I think the deck
Excuse me.
can't process what they're saying. I think that oh my, it just keeps giving. It just keeps giving, guys. Got the streamer luck going on. Not one of the best ones, but still pretty good. Got a Anka. Which one is this? This is the discard one. The anti-draw one. I think Marlin has sea legs for sure. She does some pretty powerful things. And inherently, like, literally, you could just take an Azalea deck, cut the red in the ledgers, and add 3 of a kinds, and the deck is playable. Like, the Ranger card pool is so good. I'm very interested in exploring this hero, because Ranger's just so powerful of a class. But, I'm sure, as a lot of other people saw, it probably wasn't worth putting that much time into exploring these heroes for Nationals. So I would not look into the results from this Nationals as an absolute representation of the power level of the new heroes. They all do some pretty powerful things, but I don't think it was obvious out of the box that any of them did something so obviously powerful that it was worth spending your 1 week of prep time exploring that deck over draft or something like that. And then still having to get all the fucking cards. Because getting all the cards was cringe for this event. It's not like any of them out of the box were like Zen, where you're like, this is just obviously stupid. I think the Necro was pretty close to that, but he definitely had the biggest puzzle to solve out of all of them. Me and Jinx, Andrew, were working on one earlier. That's a pirate heavy, and he's been cruising with it. You're talking about with Marlin? I'd be interested to see it. I'm pretty interested to try to build it in such a way where it's like a cosplay. Got a Chart the High Seas cosplay Lexi deck. It just all the things that Lexi used to do are still in the game, minus the go again weapon. And Marlin kind of gives you a different powerful thing to do with the free loads. So, and then creating all the free cards with the gold. That's pretty powerful. It's just, how do you deck build it in such a way that it works? Because if you play a deck that's trying to play its whole hand every turn, you're going to want to play the pumps. But if you play the pumps, you're not going to want to play 3 of a kind. So you got a lot of anti-synergy in the deck. So how do you get that to actually make sense?
Trying to fish for a crank item off the top.
I think the Mechanologist also does some really powerful things as well. Got a Whaler.
One-time use, folks. If he doesn't get the boom grenade value on
Pretty sure Whaler was expensive too. Like 20 bucks or something.
Although given that this is an aggressive mirror, there might not be too many people to speak of, especially if you can land a boom grenade on this turn.
Breakpoint
and surface shaking
could prove useful. I wonder if this is time for Crown of Providence to just make a clean block here for Andy and also get some more defense.
Bro, Kirk, this box was nuts. The first box we opened
down there in the banish zone, really.
The first box we opened had a Marlin, no, was this the second one? I think this was the second one. We got both of these in the first box. Just so nutty.
Really does incentivize Andy to use a lot of defensive resources on this turn cycle, as well as that boom grenade threatening extra damage on top.
Have to also point out the backup protocol red that is on Evan Hendon's side. With the zipper hit, he can close the chain and buy that back and just send.
I'm curious to see if this Arachne here decides to play the game versus fatigue. Because, like, if your plan is to play the game, you're not outracing the dash as Arachne. And I'm not confident you got a gold the tip. I'm not confident you actually have enough disruption in the deck to make the dash IO stop hitting you in the mouth. Especially since we've got the Crown of Providence on the board to stop one of the ways that they're going to stop you from going off.
Another break point for on offer here.
You might be tempted to sink to try and fish for another D-React, but you are also a deck that runs some 2 blocks in the form of Codex of Frailty, so it's very much a gamble, which, you know, we are in Vegas, so it would be on brand for Andy to gamble over there, but looking to make the
foil
more
dovetail
and just be happy with 3 blocks, and it seems happy to just take this boom grenade to the face.
Fast and Furious does its thing, though, and it is going to offer quite a bit of damage over to Andy's side. I wonder if maybe there was a setup where the crown was used on that turn and did allow a little
out of desk space
here, but maybe it didn't matter, Ponkage, because Evan with the big follow-up here, maximum velocity.
Rip fatigue, I guess.
For a big 10.
And remember, folks, he did boost at the start of this turn before the Spark of Genius, so has boosted 3 times, can resolve his maximum velocity. Well, now it's, in a sense, vanilla damage, but it's a lot of vanilla
damage, yeah.
If the plan was to block out, we gave up immediately on the second chain link. And there was a boom grenade this round, right? Or am I misremembering? Because I'm out opening packs at the same time, so I might have missed something. No, the boom grenade is still on the table. Did they forget to trigger it? Did this get missed? Well, let's assume that boom grenade was not missed and was not forgotten. Why would you give armor here and then immediately give up? Like, now we don't have our armor for later when we actually think we can win a fight over a boom grenade. This is just silly.
Not a small number, Ponkage.
So the question is whether Andy is still going to make use of the Techlo card that he has access to from that infiltrate. He does have to go again, and, you know, we spoke about how he could potentially block out and then just play Techlo card. He could also just play 1 stealth attack, let's go again, and then play the Techlo card.
Seems fine.
Yeah, rip blocking out, I guess. Bro, that ain't it. That ain't it.
fine salvo here. As you mentioned, Punkage, some unique interactions. In
I
this
guess
matchup.
by
Evan does
being
have knowledge of the top of the
offensive,
deck, will
you
know if
do
there's a
also
punch
rip
being
cards from the
put
top
in
of the
and
deck,
not pay off the Art of
but
Desire.
I don't know, man. I feel like you just want to be offensive
And
when
there's a
the
flank item on top of
dash takes
flank
setup
item on top,
turn.
Evan could even play that out to change the top card of the deck. Could even Crown of Providence to change the
Sure.
top card of the deck.
Yeah,
But
there's some flexibility.
at that point, you have declared a block, so can't really do too much past that. Dash Arrow, not really a deck that runs D-reacts.
Yeah, let's put the big hits over
But
here.
let's see. I mean, given that Evan is thinking about this, makes you wonder that there is a red card on top. Because if there wasn't, you'd imagine you just say snap no block.
Yeah,
Okay? Looks like
yeah,
he's
I
letting
agree.
it
Plus gaining
Evan
HP.
waffled for a second there, but is ultimately going to take the damage from this Art of Desire.
Though
And it
funny
is a
thing, gotta
red
chart the
as
high
well,
C.
so Andy's gonna
The
pick
funny
a
thing
fresh
though
card
on the
here.
Dash IO side is you can peek and be like, is it the right color on top? No? Alright, no blocks. I sleep.
So now the question is, will he be able to play
And if it's an item,
that,
gotta
Techno
deny
card?
redemption.
He does have
And if
cards
it's
to
an
go with
item,
Persuasive
you're
this
actually
time.
filling
Previous turn
the
he didn't.
banish up for
Now,
what's
now
the
there's
that
two
one
unknown
card called, the
cards
2 for
and
5?
that Art of Desire came
Heist?
from Arsenal. We spoke about how Evan knew that Arsenal card was not a pump. Now that it's out, now it's just two unknown cards on Andy's side. Is Evan gonna make Andy have it again when this time he does have it?
Yeah,
What's
I
the hand?
feel like this is
React,
readable
react?
due to the presence of that Tekla core. Like, you just probably would not fire this again and double IP in this spot unless you had something to offer from this hand. It's too easy of a cover-up. But frankly, even if you
I don't
read
know
it,
if I
you
like
may
that
not have a
block.
choice here. And Andy is now going to come to reactions with 2 reactions in hand.
Like, surely
Using
you
the
know
Raised
that
Edge.
opponent took damage to keep these cards, so they're... Ooh, got a extended art give no quarter. I didn't even know this came extended art. Chat, how much is this? Can I retire? Like, you know that no matter what, there's a react here. I feel like you just, like, don't block. Like, whatever, let this happen. Like, it's going over. Huge!
To just go ahead and push over the top.
Or just,
now,
like,
offering
Fridge
4
your
and that
hand on it
for
and block
No
more than they can go
activating
over.
Black tech here,
And then just play an
Andy's
item and
not
pass.
gonna go ahead and resolve the Tekla card,
Which
potentially wants to
I don't
save the black
necessarily
tech
want to
for
do with our
turn.
current board
And
state of 2 items
it's
in
important
play.
to note
but-
that Arachne Super Cracks, unlike New, doesn't have access to
Ooh,
double
got a
actions
Gravy
on the
Bones.
equipment.
That's a young
it's
one,
very
so,
important if you're trying to resolve a
But
card
still,
like
pretty
Bonds
cool.
of Agony.
Yeah.
So Andy's saying,
Second
"I wanna keep
Marvel,
my black
wow.
tech for potential Balls of Agony," and
Third Marvel?
hits a yellow
Third
on the
Marvel.
top line, which Evan knew was there, so he knew the potential. Of
Oh,
using a
I'm
yellow-
rich.
Yellow from his hand. Probably a Spark of Genius, it looks like.
Yeah, pretty clear option here for Andy, and I think
I'm also
going to
be making sets of commons and rares, if you guys need to, like, fill out play sets of stuff.
And deal with this particular decision is going to take the spark ultimately. And I have to say,
Oh,
I
your
really do
your
like
buddy's a
Andy's decision
genius.
not to
Got a
use the black
Cogworks
text here
workshop.
for exactly the reason you said, Punkage. I think it's important that Andy keeps his foot on the gas. Does not want to slow down. Does not want to give Evan time.
Yeah, I think I just don't
And
block that.
I
Like,
think
whatever,
you're
call
going
upon
to
clown.
Probably want that black text
Also,
for
you know that, like,
future-
most of the reactions that they play require a defending card, like all the Razor's Edges and shit. Why give them value on that card? They call them a clown when they can't play it because there's no target and IP them. Got another Arcane Compliance. It's integral you call your opponent a clown, too. That's, like,
Bonds,
really important to the
exactly.
strategy.
That is a resource that you didn't really think about when Bonds of Agony came out and you played it in New. You didn't really think about the attack reaction resource because you
This is
had
another
access
really
to
good
so
box.
many of them, and the Mystic attack
Gravy,
reaction
give
too as well.
no.
It was easy for her.
But when you play Marinette and Slip Through the Cracks, you get really wary about wasting your attack reactions on the board because if you send a Bonds of Agony on one of the Arachnes and you don't have your equipment pieces up, people just won't respect it. They're like, oh, there's very low chance that you actually
Yeah, I'm still on case 1.
I think
So,
that's a great point. Just the threat of that card being
I have
there
one more
totally
box
changes the way
left from
Evan has
case 1.
to play and account for Andy's hand.
Exactly. Also need to point out the life gain that happened from the Persuasive Prognosis.
Bro, don't
gave
jinx
Andy
it.
an extra 2 life
Why
as
are you
well.
trying to
Action card
manifest
from the
that?
top, action card from the hand. Kind of even up the life totals as we go into Evan's offensive turn here.
I said
Yeah,
good
that
luck, have fun, and you said
incidental
have fun.
life
What the
Sneaky.
hell?
Sneaky from the Assassins right now.
So
Technical
rude.
Foundry Heart activation here. Evan with plenty of resources. to
I'm
continue
never
this
lucky.
turn.
Let me have this.
Singular boost on this twin drive, but 5 go again is the offer. Andy had a pretty paltry 18, so the damage has come fast and furious from Evan Herndon thus far. But Andy no slouch either,
Oh,
with Evan
I'm
down
all
to
in the
22.
house. What's up, man?
And Andy knows Evan's hand here. That's one of the...
I'm either going to do the treasure packs at the end or tomorrow. I haven't decided yet. Because I also have some gold foils that I want to open.
hand,
from like
getting
ProQuests and
life, but there's
stuff,
also just a
from
hand of
splitting with
knowledge.
people.
Andy
I've been able to
knows
sell them sealed,
that
so
Evans
I figured I'm
has
just going to
not
open them and
used
try
the
selling them
has
opened.
activated this turn. So all Andy needs to worry about is that one floating, potentially getting an
All right,
item
this
off
is
the
the
top,
fourth
like a
box.
grenade from the Dash Arrow's ability. But other than that, the rest of the turn is basically face up from Andy's side. He has full information. And speaking of strong turns from Andy, he's got a Kiss of Death, Brian.
Yeah, Kiss of Death, one of the signature
Kiss
cards
of Death, I sleep.
in Arachne. All the
That doesn't
Arachnes
say
at
stop
this
punching
point,
you in the
I
face.
would say especially slow for Slippy. Of course, early versions of Slippy really
Ooh, Loan
relied
Shark.
on that card, setting up things like the Toxicity combo and flicking that one at your opponent. The deck has, I would say, become more consistent, more traditional in the months following its release. No less
Got a
deadly,
Burn
though,
Bear.
Kiss of Death still very powerful card.
Kiss of Death is one of those cards where when you play against it, you realize it's just, in a sense, unblockable 6 damage that happens every time. You can't block Kiss of Death because of the existence of Tarantula Toxin. And then after that, it gets flicked in your face as well. So you took 4 from the Kiss of Death, and then you took another 2 from it being flicked
I will
at you,
admit,
and
Kiss of
then
Death is pretty
suddenly,
cringe
before
to
you know
play
it, your
against,
life force
but
is dwindling.
they need to have
Like,
some
wait,
good cards.
How is this happening? It's because you can't block Kiss of Death, and it always says go against. It can always flick it at you as well. And Andy has found a pain in the backside to go alongside the Kiss of Death, which is a very, very strong interaction because pain in the backside
A
can
kiss in the
target
backside?
Kiss of Death that's on the combat
Little
chain,
wet kiss
and
on the
then you
back.
can flick it afterwards anyway.
Pretty good spot to be in for Andy Hong. A nice hand put together here.
Gotta tip the
3
barkeep.
is the offer from this Kiss of Death, but we know it represents so much more than that.
And
I
you can block
underestimated how good Tip the Barkeep
Pumps
was in
and
that deck.
Toxin is
in
such a blowout,
Gravy.
So Evan Hunter snap no blocks that. Now pain in the backside coming in. Is Evan going to take this? Because this is a 0 for 5 if this is, and it is.
Yeah,
He's
paper
gotta
packs.
take it here. He feels like he needs his hand, needs to go ahead and maybe offer lethal.
Do you have
on his
some
next go around.
lore
He is
behind the
using
paper packs that I should know?
Though, that he's using to hit. So prioritizing the mark as opposed to the damage here.
And that's because we know Andy's arsenal is the take up the mantle. Doesn't have a Bonds of Agony.
Got a foil blood in the water.
Swap this infiltrate out maybe for the persuasive or some disruption.
Yeah, I could see that.
You do give up some damage, but yeah, looks like Evan Hinton is gonna block this out with the adaptive plating.
Bro, who cares if that hits?
Galvanizing the cerebellum
Let him hit an item or some shit.
Anyway.
Yeah, so does
I guess he
come
knows
to
what's on
the
top.
final, but there is the take up the mantle coming out from the
Cogworks
graveyard.
Dovetail.
Andy's gonna reach here.
The
Has
short
persuasive,
prints show up more often
Has
in
Ardent
those in the
Desire.
Japanese packs.
You gotta suspect disruption.
Then you
here,
get
right,
clumping on
Ponkage?
these.
You do lose out on 2 damage, but you could mess up Evan's 14 against Dash IO with a
I
full
might
5-card hand
have
you just
a
I think
whaler.
the way Evan
Which
has
one's
played this
Whaler?
turn, it's clear that he believes he's
That's,
offering
this
lethal
guy,
this
right?
next
Yeah.
round. He's gonna start demanding cards from
I'm
Andy. And this
pretty
is a chance
sure
for
the
Andy to
packs
maybe
I
get
opened
a
already were
little
from
bit of
Belgium.
breathing room.
And I do have a Marvel of
And
that.
Flick Knives, of course, also coming in, as you always know is going to happen once Kiss of Death is resolved from Arachne Slip through the cracks.
I'll
And
take a
now
look
we
later
know
and see if
why
it feels
Andy
like it's the same
prioritized,
card stock.
Sending the Hunter's Clave and the pin on the backside instead of the Kiss of Death. Really wanted their mark, really wanted to send disruption this turn. Didn't want to let Evan just have
Sure.
a full 5-card hand as Dash IO.
Got a
Question is,
foil
what
Escalate
is the color of
Bloodshed.
the top card of the deck?
Yeah.
It's a red.
Again, I really like the decisions I've seen thus far from Andy.
What did he
Again,
turn the
has played
mantle
very
into?
well in somewhat subtle ways, but that's how you win games of flesh and blood. You make
What did he
those
turn it
small
into?
decisions, and thus far, I feel like Andy's doing a very nice job.
Ooh,
navigating
got a
those
Marvel
positions.
Chum.
Not many players
Plus
would have
$100
foregone
reduce for
2
Pheno.
resources to 2 turns over in the form of the Techno Core. But that is one thing about Arachne Slip Through the Cracks. The decks are
I have a
built to
playset
not
of
really
Marvel
build.
Chums now.
So if
What the
Techno Core's
heck?
giving you 2 resources each turn, you might just be like, this,
Just the dagger.
this isn't worth it.
Yeah.
I'd rather save my black tech. We didn't see that pay off in the form of Bonds of Agony yet.
Hmm,
But that
okay.
is just the discipline that Andy has on his deck. What
Gotta
makes it
return
really
fire.
scary on this hero. Speaking of decisions he has to make, a pick of a red card from Evan's hand over here.
Yeah, pretty good right there.
Get
And
fucked.
This again feels like another
Get
tough
fucked,
decision for Andy
Julian.
to go ahead and just slowly
Say
decrease
nothing for a
what Evan's
while.
able to do on
Stop
the hand. And I
spamming.
agree, Pulse Wave Harpoon, if Evan is not offering lethal on this turn, this gives Andy the space to come back, maybe have a heavy disruption hand.
This is making me want to go
and
back to the store and buy the rest of their
really put
boxes.
Evan in the blender with the combination of Flick Knives turn after turn after turn, offering that one
This is a chum-free zone.
damage.
And we have to point out the value of the persuasive prognosis. That would have been a
No one told me. What did
three-boost
he
white Pulse Wave
take
Harpoon
up the mantle
that
into?
Evan's hand just had. It was a blue.
Is anyone
blue
actually
red
watching this
card, so
game?
the hand that Dash I want to see every time. Andy Hong forwent the 2 damage from his original stealth attack to take away a Pulse of Harpoon, which ended up being very, very positive for him.
Yeah, takes the first 4 here, falls to 12, knows the hand, does not know the arsenal on his side.
He does. It's a twin
Oh
drive.
my
That's
god.
not from previous turn.
Correct, yeah. Andy's had just great
Y'all still got that
information throughout
Vegas
this entire
Gamba
game.
brain
And
rot.
that's the thing when you play against and as Assassin. You have to make sure you're keeping track of information that you have gained and information you have given to your opponent by stuff you didn't do. We spoke about how Evan knew the arsenal wasn't an attack react, how that it cascades into future
Sheesh.
turns. You have to keep track of those things to be one of the top tier Assassin players as we are seeing right now on the screen.
And I want to say that Andy knows he's safe. He doesn't, though, because there is the problem of Boom Grenade off the top. Now, a Boom Grenade was just banished there. It's important. It certainly improves your odds of being able to make it through, but I assume we're going to see some blocks from Andy to protect from the possibility.
Oh god, I fucked
anyway.
up. My hand is around the
Yellows
wire.
and blues lurking in the deck as well.
And that's also why Evan is activating Techno Foundry hard every turn of the game that we've seen it happen. He doesn't need to be worried about fatigue in this matchup because it's such an aggro race. He just wants to keep changing the top card of his deck. It's not necessarily about resources, folks. It's just about changing the top card of the deck to fish for those crank items off the top.
And Crown just going
One
to
nice thing too from Evan's POV is if he gets Andy to block down too much, he's gonna have all the breathing room he needs for the rest of the game. He's never gonna get to play the game again.
A little bit.
Yeah, I think so, Punkage.
Just recognizing if he just gives too much defense, he might just he won't be able to mount enough offense, and he'll be caught in a blender on his
All right,
side.
case
and
number
eventually
2.
die. And it goes down to 2, which is lethal off of just Simbao's shot.
Yeah, took a bit of a risk there.
Got a
but I
Palantir.
think rewarded Punkage, rewarded with the form of a pretty good draw.
Ooh, he didn't present
Card
lethal though.
I'm not super familiar with what it does, but I've seen it a few times. Codex of Frailty drawn there. For
Pot
Andy
of
Hong. And
Greed.
What does that mean for this turn? It means
I'm
fire
kind of
response.
got a
There's
foil minus
also
touch.
E-strike in hand,
Kind of sad that I
able to go
didn't
ahead
end
and
up getting
offer
to
5
play
go-gets
Azalea.
after this infect comes through, and then you can
I wanted to
reset
play the
turn
deck with
with
6 pot
Codex
of Greeds.
Frailty if you'd like.
Question
I should do a
is,
deck tech on my Azalea deck that I
what
did not
packs do
bring.
you have in the yard to get with the Codex? Normally you want to resolve the card with either CNC or leave no witnesses.
Yeah, Stunk to leave no witnesses. I don't think he's got one yet.
I don't think
Did you
he has
know
either of
that
those
the EA,
in the
M's,
yard.
and
Disruptive
reverse
PCS has
foil
like a
in
persuasive
this don't show up in
prognosis,
the
but
Japanese
with
language
Evan
set?
with
They
still
just
one
show up
block
as
from the Techno
regular?
Foundry card,
Huh,
once you play a card, you
that's
want
really
to
interesting.
just send
Thanks
more
for the bonus
damage.
lore.
To be honest.
I love all the
Yeah.
bonus lore things like that. Keep them coming.
Alongside his Blood Rod pop, maybe just try and end the game right here.
Got another
I think,
Loan Shark.
too, that Frailty token could pay.
Loan Shark was one of the short
dividends
prints,
with
right?
Symbiosis shot lurking over on Evan's side.
Got a
Just
Burn
getting
Bear.
-1 to that.
But you have to also remember, that gives Evan the choice of the litter from his graveyard for an attack. He can swap out a card in his hand for a card in the graveyard.
Yeah,
and
that is true.
if you're not going to leave no witnesses,
I do know
Evan's
the
gonna
Ape Strong
need to
together.
block your attack if it's not sending lethal. And then if he can send enough damage at you to...
I should add you to the
before
shrewdness.
Blood Rod Pox goes off, that you might regret playing this Codex of Frailty.
It
so
is gonna be
Andy
the
playing
Codex.
with
I
fire.
forget. Do you know
Yeah,
the?
Evan now gets a choice, and
Have I had that
there's
conversation you before about the
plenty of
shrewdness,
options
Hamal?
for
Ooh,
Evan,
got a Dead
all
Threads.
kinds of offensive output at
And
the
accept the
ready.
Barkeep. Good pack.
So Andy, you could take a bit of a risk and go for Art of Desire body over here with the black tech up. You could perhaps just fish if Evan has a red on top. You can maybe find something else on the top and then send that as well. We're part
So,
of the point where bonds are getting resolved.
Our local
So
group,
maybe
I
just get
named
down
the
to black tech
shrewdness
right here.
because a shrewdness is the
Infiltrate
plural
being pulled to
for
the front
apes.
right now.
Oh, that also makes sense.
Yeah.
Then you can grab something off the top of
And
Evan,
together
use
we
the
are
black tech
strong,
list.
of course.
And if there's a boost, if there's an attack,
Got a
on Evan's
young
top of the
Puffin
deck,
Marvel.
You have his one cost with your tunic. You can just go ahead and play that.
Goddamn
And
young
you don't- and yeah, because
Marvels.
If you draw a card of your deck, you might draw
I
an
ain't
attack
no
reaction that you can't
Lolicon.
play after
Get
the
these
attack
out of here.
hits. Whereas Evan's deck more likely to just have attack that you can play.
Evan did just pick up the 0 to 60.
Give me
here.
the MILF heroes.
Infiltrate now fired. Offering 3. This is, of course,
Do you want me to
fast
add you to the group
defenders with
chat?
Flick knives at the ready.
It's like all of our locals, and then just randomly Brody Spurlock. I don't know why he's in there. He's just in there. He never says
Does he
anything,
wanna leave
but
himself
he's
with
there,
no
lurking.
daggers? Says no.
Got a
just
dovetail.
Lets the block happen. Picks up the card from the ponder and then passes the turn back to Evan. 2 cards in hand for Evan. 1 committed to the defense, 1 discarded to the codex. Starts things off with 0 to 60 here.
Coming in for 3, thanks
Yep,
to the
out of
frailty
Arsenal.
token.
He probably gets
And
3
as we
cards
spoke
here.
about, Bonds
There's
of
2
Agony,
points of armor,
Andy has
though.
finally drawn his first copy with a Razor's Edge as well.
What's
If you
Magical
keep
Christmas
just
Land? Are you talking about my
automatically
opening?
Razor's Edge, Between Flick Knives and Black
Bro, let
Tech,
me
you
have
will
this.
be able
I'm
to turn it
always
off.
unlucky.
That is true. I like that setup.
And he does
Do
have a
not
D
take
react
this
as well
from
to
me.
protect it.
I need it.
Evan continuing to fish. We haven't seen too many dash IO activations this game, Brian. Evan's been fishing every time.
Y'all haven't seen all my other box openings. I open ass every time.
Found many items off the top, and that is one of the risks of this hero.
Now finds a boom grenade though, and that means action points are working. Symbiosis shot does have 2 counters on it, but it is down to only
Oh
attacking
my
for
God,
1
this
on
is
the back
so
of that frailty,
good.
and I think that frailty is going to pay big dividends on
And then
this
2
turn.
gunshots.
So,
And he has to block this for 5.
He knows it's going to be 5 into 1 into 1. Question is, can he block
So he gets to
out while still
go
holding on to Razor's
block 2 cards on this. Armor. Technically, he doesn't even have to give armor on the second shot. He can just go to 1 and just save his tunic. And then he can keep 1 card plus arsenal.
Agony? I'm not sure if he can, because he also wants to keep the Flick Knives.
Yeah.
2 turn on the bond.
I guess
Tunic
keeping
here,
the
though,
flick
which he
is
reaching for
more
very
important. That
quickly.
makes sense. Gotta return fire.
Yeah, so Tunic and D-React, but then it's 1 into 1. You have to block at least one of those. And the Arsenal was a random draw off the top. I believe it was an Infect. Didn't quite catch what color it was.
I thought it was blue, but I also am not 100% sure about that. But the card just given up to the Symbiosis shot here.
What? Oh, he blocked with a 4 block on that.
And
Okay,
then
that makes
Evan chose
sense.
not to fire the second one. Perhaps Andy, making Andy regret that block on the first Symbiosis shot. You let Evan keep the counter since you know he's not sending lethal anymore.
Interesting. It is just the blue Infect out of Arsenal here. Now, Evan's going to have a think about that one.
Hasn't seen Justin Nick yet.
Yeah, has to fear that card, has to fear the Razor.
I don't know if you can really play around it.
Given here.
Oh, this is lethal. Razor's Edge and Flick Knives.
But has the Flick Knives, yeah, and that gets the fist bump, and Andy Hunk takes it down.
That's tough.
Wow. In a nail-biter of a match, Brian, it came down to such low life.
That is tough.
In the feature match area, and it is
Oh,
in the hands
Charles?
of none other than former U.S. national champion Charles.
That guy's
Dunn.
pretty okay at the game.
The real treasure is the friends we made along the way, and the spectacular games of Flesh and Blood that we get to watch.
We're getting right into the action here as Inez Navarra is going to be taking on Charles Dunn. It's Oops All Arachnes in our feature match area as well, as we now get our second look at an Arachne marionette showing up to the party.
This, yeah, different Arachne over here. Playing a cut from the same top. I love this card. I think this is a card that people
Another
who are
Dovetail.
sleeping on
Dovetail
a little
really
bit,
likes me
they
this
thought it was
opening.
just draft chat, but the more you play with it in CC, just getting hand information in Assassin is so incredibly strong. We spoke about how it cascades. You know whether they have defense reactions, and in Assassin Mirror, you know exactly.
Gamers!
They might up their, they might have.
Oh!
Dagger for 5 is very, very difficult to block, and against a deck.
We did it! Finally opened a Fable! Finally opened a Fable! Okay, let's look at Charles's deck. Hold on. I'm gonna look at it off screen for a sec because I don't know if he wants me to publicly show stuff. I guess it's just like on Fab TCG, right? So I can just do that. Hold on. I have to go to like what, standings? How do I get back to Nationals? Compass, Dominion, Dead Threads, Hook, Mage Masters. Sizing on this is going to be kind of weird. I guess I'll just do this. Fuck. Sorry, chat. Do that temporarily so you guys can see better. That's the D-React, right? Yeah. Conqueror, Restless Bones. I don't like all these guys. The ones that, like, functionally are boost cards. I think they're kind of ass. I don't want these cards in my deck that, like, when I draw it, I have to immediately peek. And then, ah, shit, wrong card on top. I guess I just have to block with this card. I don't know. I think they're kind of shit. I'd rather just, like, put cards in my deck that always play. I do like 1 Sea Legs, though. I think 1 Sea Legs makes sense for the, like, grindy matchups where you know you have to, like, have a big turn. So you just try to discard this at some point to make Gold Kiss. But you could just play Tip the Barkeep instead. So I don't know if I actually want it. I don't know what the Remembrance is for. I feel like his ally count is pretty low. I like Chowder. Chum's really good. I don't know about this guy. Rigor Mortis is obviously good. Sawbones is good. I don't think this guy's good. Swabby's good. Humperdinck is good. Yo, Goblin Reserve, what's up? Well, you literally can't see the handsome gentleman because my camera's pointing the wrong direction, but the sentiment is there. I really like the Go Again one, the one that just like is like a 2/1 with Go Again. I don't like the one that makes a gold when it dies. Oh, that makes sense. The Remembrance comment. Yeah, I was talking to Jacob about the one that makes a gold when it dies. And his logic behind the card was basically, it was good because people were respecting it and killing it. And then me and Pat Eschke, who's also working on the deck, we were hanging out with Jacob during his like top 8, trying to help him prepare for the Azalea game, and we were just like talking theory about the deck during that. And both me and Pat just looked at each other and we were like, well, why are they respecting it? Did they just ignore it? And he's just like, oh, they should ignore it, but they never do. So yeah, I don't like that guy. They should ignore that guy. I can understand playing it into the grindy, blocky matchups, maybe if you're like gold starved. But I feel like just build the deck so you're not gold starved. I don't know. Is Charles not playing? I really like Back Alley Breakline. I think this card is sick. I would probably play yellow Golden Tipple. I'm pretty sure Jacob's playing red Golden Tipple. My starting point with the deck is going to be take his deck and make the Golden Tipple red into yellow. Ostin's the gold one? Yeah. Back Alley is so good. And it's so gross because you can hit it off of Chart the High Seas, and you're going to get the action point and the $3 for it. That's so broken. What does this guy do? Discard? That's really good. That just, it's so busted. I think the blue base is reasonable. I just would play some different allies, and I wouldn't play these stupid ass. I don't like that there's no key. Like, this mechanic should certainly have a keyword, right? It's worded in such a specific way where they all do the same thing, where it just should have a keyword. I'm gonna start calling it Watery Boost. Do we agree, chat? Can we just call this Watery Boost? What other guys is he not playing? We didn't see the one that prevents 1 damage in there, right? I like the one that prevents 1 damage a lot. That one's so cringe to play against. I don't know how I feel about Anka without playing the deck. We were playing Azalea games into this, and it was kind of cringe playing Azalea against this effect, so like... But I don't know how relevant that is into everything else. I think Shelly's kind of a meme. This guy, Sawbones. Sawbones is the one that prevents damage. Chili's ass. Wait, was Charles not playing the Fable? Wait, Charles is a massive clown. What the fuck? Was he really not playing that? Bro, Charles is not even a clown. He's the entire circus. He played this stupid-ass sea legs instead. What? Huh? Yeah, he's playing red, gold, and tipples. I don't like these. I would just make these yellow. I want to make sure that as much of my deck possible hits off chart. And I don't think the 1 point actually matters. Yeah, but you know what solves this problem, Chris? Money. I don't think if you're getting this entire deck day 1, I don't think the cost of one more card is really a limiting factor for you. So I believe he made a conscious choice not to play that card. Yeah, this guy, Limpet. Limpet's really good. I don't think I like Oyston. Sawbones is gas. That's like the big differences here. I'm really surprised that people are only playing one back alley. Like, is this not a 3 of? This card seems insane. The Eye of a video was cute. Wait, he's not playing Tip the Barkeep? That's really surprising. I'm gonna ask him about that later. CTTG. Chart. Nope. The fuck is CTTG? Oh, Call to the Grave. Haha, figured it out. Like, you only need 1 for Call, so that I understand. But I feel like having the high roll potential over on a chart the high seas is pretty reasonable. Is there anything else that triggers back alley other than these 2 cards in the deck? Like, I know the watery boosts chart trigger it. No, you're good. I didn't know. I know the watery boosts would trigger back alley. Oh no, do they trigger back alley? They would just like do the same thing, right? Yeah, it would just be instead of getting go again, you'd gain an action point. So they like air quotes trigger it. So is there anything else that puts back alley in the graveyard? I don't think so. So maybe you don't want more because they're kind of bricks. Like, you don't actually want that card in your hand. But you're pitching blues so much that, like, whatever. Okay, anyways, let's go back to the games.
Like Arachne Marinette. The mark is very, very important. That is an effect you are actively trying to prevent yourself from getting.
Got kind of distracted here. But yeah, oh, Fable!
Starting a little bit into the action here. Charles Dunn deploying Cuddy Shark on the first turn.
Got a Bam Bam.
Mopped up by Inez. Command and Conquer was the follow-up. Charles Dunn ready on the defense. Going to play a 3-card hand here. Perfect information.
Oh, I was like, I started talking about this and got distracted. I really don't like the watery boost cards. Because one of the things that I found with the deck is if... Hey, Josh. If you have one of these watery boosts in your hand, you're just, like, priced into immediately compassing. And I don't necessarily want to just, like, slam compass the second I draw one of those cards. Or, I'm sorry. I don't want to slam compass at the beginning of every single round. I want to use my compass to figure out what I'm supposed to do with my round with my hero power and my gold. And a lot of your hand textures, you know you're always going to hero power because you just want to get like one of the allies out of your hand. So me compassing there doesn't like give me that much value. I know I'm hero powering anyway, so like I want to save my compass for after I hero power to figure out what I'm doing after that. I don't know. I think it just leads to some like awkward spots where you're just compassing in the weird spots, and I just don't want to do that. But also, if you don't have the thing to do the thing with your watery boost card, then the card's just shit. Glad to see you in chat. Yeah, I haven't really been... Got a sea legs, speak of the devil. I don't know, I haven't really been feeling fab ever since Japan, so I needed to take a break. I also was feeling kind of negative on a lot of the things in the game, of like decisions going on in the game, or just all these little things. And I felt like if I made content, I was just going to be really negative, and I didn't want to do that. I figured I just need to walk away. Though I do plan on making a video talking about this draft format, because this is legitimately the best draft format they've ever made, and is now the gold standard by everything else that they gotta escalate bloodshed. This set is now the gold standard that all other sets are going to be judged by for limited, which is kind of unfortunate. This is a tough act to follow, so I don't expect the upcoming sets to be able to keep up with this. But if they do, I'm going to be pleasantly surprised. Anyways, I'm sorry. I've stalled long enough. Let's get back to watching the games. Got a return fire. The gold kiss standard, one might say.
And we get our first Arachne transformation, and it's going to be Trapdoor showing up to the party, meaning traps are live for this next turn cycle for Charles Dunn.
And you have to imagine how many traps Inez
got a foil blood in the water.
Against Gravy, you want to be on the more aggressive side, and typically Arachne Marinette doesn't have too much space to fit in that many traps. Anyway,
bro, I agree. My tier list for Fab, you're gonna hear me say this in the video whenever I get around to making the video, so I'll be repeating myself, but my tier list is at the top of the tier list is this set. And the tier is called, I would play this set for fun. I would legitimately just play High Seas for fun. There is no higher praise I can give than I would do this for fun. I do not need an incentive to play it. I would just do it for fun. And then below that, the next tier down is, I would be happy playing this for a competitive event. And in that tier, we have MST and Rosetta. I think those are two well-designed sets for competitive limited. Then we jump down like 8 tiers, and then everything else is in the dog-ass tier. Literally unplayable shit. And then one tier below that, like literally in this 8th layer of hell, is Bright Lights. It's kind of, the set is so good, it legitimately makes me want to go to Singapore. Got a cog in the machine. Just to draft more, because now I have the awkward bit where it's like, well, I'm not going to Singapore, so I have no actual reason to draft this set anymore. So if I'm drafting, it's just because I want to sit down and draft. But if I was going to Singapore, I have an excuse to draft more. I don't know. Anyways, oh god, I fucked up. I dropped my box on my keyboard.
Draw into scouting shot here. To go ahead and buy a 3-block.
Someone asked how many boxes we're doing. We're doing 12 boxes. We're on box 6, 7.
Take 4 down to 16 goes Bird. 2 gold over. 4 mark. Really do like the EA golds. And that.
I love
all the stuff that comes out of the token pack, like just in terms of the tokens, gorgeous.
I have commonly referred to myself as Rainbow Foiling Strongest Warrior.
Wait a minute.
I am stoked.
This is not the right game. We were at the beginning of Charles's game, right? I don't think we're here yet.
Again, because so it does have the trap
On the first.
Well,
they might
being able to draft implies that there's product to draft. That's a whole nother can of worms. Like I said, I've had negative things to say about Fab.
They might have up their sleeve and stuff. It's just a fantastic card, not to mention Dagger for 5 is very, very difficult to block. And against a deck like Arachne Marinette, the mark is very, very important. That is an effect you are actively trying to prevent.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys watched the Runaways episode that I was on recently, but I had
Starting
a little bit to say about this set when it came to Nationals.
Shark on the first turn, but quickly mopped up by Inez. Command and Conquer was the follow-up. Charles Dunn ready on the defense, going to play a 3-card hand
Inez,
here.
that's how you
Perfect
pronounce
information
it,
of
okay.
the top of the deck, has used that compass of Sunken Depths. And we get our first Arachne transformation, and it's going to be Trapdoor showing up to the party, meaning traps are live for this
Got a
next turn
Cogworks
cycle for Charles
workshop.
Dunn.
And you have to imagine how many
The
traps
judge
Inez
conference,
has been playing
LSS
in this
devs
matchup
did a
against
Q&A.
Gravy and Wannabe
We
on
asked,
the
is there
more
enough product
aggressive
for
side.
Nats?
And typically Arachne
Bruh.
Marina doesn't have too much space to fit in that many traps. Anyway, looks like they did find one of the mark traps. I didn't quite catch whether it was den or lair of the spider. But it's
I mean,
the spider
that being said,
so does have the traps available. Will it be live?
I am
Will it
very
be blocking
critical
free, which
on
is still
LSS
very
a
good
lot.
effect.
Got
Sure,
a
just effectively drawing an extra
consigned
free
to the
block.
Cosmos.
Yeah.
I'm
Facing down
and a foil
Gravy's
Cogworks Dovetail.
3-card hand
I'm
here,
pretty
2
critical on
cards in
Fab.
hand, 1 in the arsenal.
So they did something good with this set as far as limited goes. So I think it's important that I actually point out that they got something right with this set. If I'm just always negative, I don't think that
Deployed from hand here, so no
sends the
go
right
there.
message.
Going to wrap up the turn, so a pretty anemic turn from Charles Dunn.
I think at
Denying
some
value
point
at
it's like
that
me
trap
crying
door,
wolf
though,
if I'm
so good
always
time to have an off turn.
saying negative things about the game. And at
Yeah,
some
so
point
you can
it's,
full 5
why
from
am I
hand.
playing this
Charles
game?
is
You know what I
not
mean? Like,
threat.
it doesn't
Inez
sound like I'm
doesn't
enjoying
get
this
the
game.
+1
And I'm not
token
being
on
the
hit,
ambassador for the game that I want to
It
be.
was one of those fascinating things about the deck building in Arachne.
Ooh, got another
You want to
Conquer the High
make
Seas.
use as much as possible of the +1 and the go again, but you also need to have hands that don't need the go again, because half the time if you're in Agent of Chaos, you don't actually have that effect unless you're specifically red back.
Got a
Sacred
undercover
Bloodshed gonna threaten
acquisition.
Charles directly here. Charles is marked, so card draw also on the table for Inez.
Oh, this is, you know, we spoke about how in this new fresh meta with these new heroes, there's lots of discovery happening. I just have to point out the Sawbones interaction with Flick Knives. Are players ready for this? Sawbones can prevent the Flick Knives. You can't rely
Oh, that's
on that.
cute.
Also, these pesky daggers. Sawbones a very, very efficient way to just prevent a 1 damage dagger, not a 5 damage one. But yeah, it's just, is Inez ready for this sort of interaction? Have they practiced against this sort of ally-based deck with these little more tricksy effects on the allies themselves?
I think the hardest part for Inez is just, what does Charles' list look like? Like, nobody knows what the Gravy Bones deck looks like right now.
Flick Knives happening over here. Sawbones ready to be activated. Will
Gotta tip the
mean that
barkeep.
You can't attack with the Sawbones since it does require the tap.
I will say Tip the Barkeep is
And I
one of the
wonder if
cards that I
means
want to
Inez
add
just
to
doesn't focus on
Jacob's
the
list if I
Sawbones
can
and tries to push a low
find the
damage
space
here.
or
You've got
there's
all
not a
this on red,
like a
so you
really
can
good
play
reason
now,
not
make
to
the
play it.
green, And then clear out the Sawbones. You do need to get that off the field. But also this dagger setup is something that Arachne Marinette really wants to get to as fast as possible, especially when your opponent is marked. Just having a Clave and a Graphene together makes you
Ooh, got a Sea Lace
so much more
Sarong.
efficient. You get to
Another really good
2-cost
case.
dagger into 1-cost dagger, and Graphene has lots of interaction.
So this case, we got
interactions in the Marinette deck because it is a stealth dagger,
a
which
Dead
means-
Threads,
which means
a
Tarantula
Puffin, a
Toxic
Fable, a
is very,
Conqueror,
very strong
and a
Graphene,
Sarong.
and you can use the
And maybe
Agent
a
of
Young
Chaos
Gravy, but I don't
abilities on the
remember.
Graphene as well. If you're a Black
And we
Widow
still have
or
another
a
box
Funnel Web,
left.
You can discard an assassin card and get that effect on the
I
Graphene.
think there's 0
Just the
Nats.
jittery bones here from Charles does
Don't
go
quote
ahead
me.
and set up a chum though in the graveyard. Dead Threads does its thing, produces a resource here. And Chum is now deployed with the help of Dead Threads and immediately ready to
Deny
rumble,
redemption.
coming in 4-4.
And a big game trophy shot.
Chum and under one of those very, very pesky allies.
No, I haven't opened the gold packs
Even
yet.
a deck like a Zayla, even a deck like Assassin, where they can play some front pumps in the form of Cut from the Same Cloth that we saw already. You play that, you give the Gravy Bones a priority window, and then they can activate Chum. And now you have to send a 5-power dagger into a 6-health Chum. It can just make things very, very awkward. Again, the question is, how prepared is Inez for this new hero on the block?
I think awkward is a good way to describe playing against Chum. We'll see how Charles wants to utilize that powerful
Yeah, these
ally
cases have been
on
sick.
this turn cycle.
So far, in
Back to Inez.
the 9 boxes we
Wasted
opened, we got
Prognosis
all
gonna kick
this.
off the turn
We
here.
got
With
a
Charles
Marvel
marked and
Marlin,
we're base Arachne,
a
so this is
Marvel
coming in 4-2.
Young Puffin, a Marvel Young Gravy,
And I saw Justin somewhere in Inez's hand in the past few turns.
Tinker
I'm not
Rings,
sure if it
Sea
made it
Legs,
to her
Dead
arsenal, but
Threads,
Justin Egg with Persuasive Prognosis
a
is
Marvel
one of the
Chum,
strongest
Marvel
available to
Anka,
Assassin. Also has a
2
season
ships,
red
a
deck
Fable, and
so
a
will have the
full
go
art
again
Give
for
No
this
Quarter.
persuasive regardless of
Pretty-
whether it hits or not.
pretty-
And we'll have it for free as well, 'cause Charles is marked.
pretty good.
Yeah, Inez has to leave behind enough though to go ahead and take care of that Chum
Now,
next go around.
speaking of Chum, Charles over here holding 2 allies.
Tell me more
Remember,
about
those
Charles's
don't
Chum.
block. They have, they can be very chunky, have high
Oh,
health
what the
values
heck?
when they're on the
This is like
field.
really long for some
And
reason.
Brian, they are
The heck?
incredibly awkward. You can't block with them when you play them from hand. They don't get the go again off of the compass.
Got a Sunken Treasure.
And here we see a Gravy activation potentially for exactly that reason.
Still haven't cracked any treasure packs yet. I haven't talked about Second yet, but Second... Yeah, what the heck? It's like miscut or something. I think Second is incredibly powerful. My first read on it, I thought it was mid, and then I watched like a game or two with it, and I was instantly sold. Gotta preach modesty. I don't know which side of this argument I would take, but I would humor an argument that Second is the best Herald, even better than Erudition. I know that sounds crazy, but it's that good. It is very, very powerful. And it is only getting better with the Armory deck coming out. I think the Armory deck legitimately could lead to Arclight getting banned off of the back of Second now existing Cogworks Workshop. You can play Second and shoot yourself with the 2 Arcane, activate your hero power, putting ALS into Banish from Soul, use the replacement effect on the new Halo from the Second shooting yourself, and then put ALS into play. If you have some extra resources in play, like from an E-Pot or something, or you already have a piece in play, you can instantly loop off of Second. It is fucked up. I think Prism might completely change how she's built once we get the Armory deck, and just become an ignorant combo deck that just tries to loop as soon as possible every single game. Like, I think you might be able to loop every matchup if people don't bring tech to specifically stop the loop.
Maybe convert it to a blocking card. Did he draw a blocking card for the chum? He just drew another ally.
Rigor Mortis was the draw here, so no more blocking cards for
Yeah.
Charles.
Second's very good.
Gravy's
Second's
such a
very
fascinating card.
powerful.
You really have to use all parts of the Buffalo. You have
It's-
to use everything.
If you look at
Gravy
it just
is
from a
able to
math
offer
perspective,
you.
it's just
At
straight up on
varying
rate.
time
You're spending
points, you
3
have to
cards for
activate
9
on your turn,
value.
you have to activate on your
But
opponent's turn. You have to
you
consider your
always
resource
gotta
availability in terms of
waste
your
in
weapon
Marvel.
suite. That Mage Master
You
Bufel
always
only once a game.
get value out of
So much
your
Charles
chest
has
to the turn
balance
you
here.
play it.
And Prognosis does his thing, comes through clean.
You know how we spoke about how Dash IO knew the color of the top card of the
Yeah,
Dash
I'm gonna need
player?
someone to pick that up from you at Gen
Yeah,
Con.
and
Compass.
look at this.
Yeah.
He actually is
Speak of the
really
devil in a
clear.
little pier,
He
Second.
saw red. He's like, oh, I have no reds in my hand. Sure, I'll let this hit. And then loses the mark. And effectively, Inez's first card was just, here you go again. Not where you want to be.
Suck 'em.
Follow-up of the Hunter's Clave here. Potential to remark for Inez. Still with that Chum out there. Still no activation here from Charles. Not trying to draw any attention. Chum just kind of hanging out.
I wouldn't even say that I'm an illusionist simp, to be honest. I actually really don't like New Prism. I've talked about this many a time at length. I do not enjoy playing combo decks. I think the deck is fairly broken and unbalanced, and I don't like the current state Prism is in. I don't think it is a fun deck to play, but that is a subjective thing. I don't have fun play. Gotta chart the high C. I don't have fun playing combo decks, so it doesn't scratch the itch for me. It doesn't scratch the itch that OG Prism did. Dromai kinda scratched that itch. Enigma kinda scratched that itch. Gravy might scratch that itch a little bit, but Prism is just a different style of deck. It scratches a similar itch, I think, to like Kano and things like that. Sorry I keep pausing. I like can't focus on the game and talk to you guys at the same time. Are you more on board with the build-up Prism? Yeah, I had fun playing Prism because I would nickel and dime my opponent all game. I would be behind all game. My opponent would think that they're winning all game, and then it would slip away. And they'd go, I don't understand what happened. I was winning all game. I thought I was going to win this game. How did I lose? That feeling of satisfaction of watching the game slip away from your opponent is something you don't get with New Prism. In New Prism, it's you're getting the shit beat out of you, and then you just combo off and win. It's not the same thing. That's like saying Kano's behind. It's just that's not what the game is about. It's like saying you like blue decks and then saying, well, blue control and storm are the same thing. They both play blue. It's just like not close to the same thing at all. If any of you Magic heads get it. Yeah, but if I'm playing Teklo, I'm just losing all game, and then I never win. I never get the satisfaction of coming from behind and winning. I'll just lose. There's a difference. Teklo sucks ass. If Teklo was good, I would consider it. But that's also, like, not the way I want to play the game, where I'm just, like, doing nothing but blocking all game, and then I assemble Tron and win. Like, I don't want to play a Tron deck. I want to nickel and dime my opponent. I want to grind them for advantage. Like a Jund deck or something, you know? Like, I'm just gonna slowly win this game.
Now, in the background, don't worry about me. You don't have to attack me. Do what you want to do.
Well, it does also require...
Yeah, exactly. Because
and
eventually
discard
Prism
a Water
turns the
Grave card as
corner.
well. So it is, in a sense, temporal
Because she has enough things in play.
because you
And then I
put
get
your
to
card
go
in hand
block
and
3
come back
cards,
with the
pitch a
Trump
card to
on
my
the
hero
bottom as
power,
well. So while
push
it
my
is
board
really
for
hard
9.
to deal with, if Charles ends up using it, it also means the Chum isn't attacking you, so how much value is he getting from it? And that is one of the fascinating questions that Gravy has. If you
Got a
want to
blood
use
in the water.
effects like the Sawbones and the Chums, it means you are giving up their offensive value. And that's very, very important for these decks. Now, Charles, marked again.
Yeah, it doesn't fulfill that same identity or flavor between the two new Prisms. Ooh, got a Codex.
Yeah, no blocks again from Charles.
The style of the
Just
two Prisms
little
is
bits of
completely
damage
different.
Sneaking through to Captain Bones. Is going to go ahead and activate Chum in this spot, though. Finds that opportunity to potentially gain some life here with the Chum. Thinks enough has been used by Inez that maybe the Chum both soaks up an attack and does not get cleared.
And he did say in the resolution steps of past reactions. So Charles,
I fuck with
giving
Bant
up the
Coco.
ability to attack with the Chum on his turn. Question is, what is his offensive output on his turn with the Chum
got a Whaler.
tapped already? You have to imagine he has a plan. And since he knows he can't get disrupted by a CNC or something now because it has to attack the Chum, he sort of is playing with full information. He made that discard
Got a foil
saying,
Burn Bear.
oh, I know exactly
I
how
think one of my locals is looking for this.
Rigor Mortis, I believe. And I have these 4 cards. I know I will have this because there's no way you... Maybe it was buff. Not entirely sure how she cleared. I see a persuasive in there. I'm not sure if that was a persuasive that was on the comic screen or maybe it was buff over another one was played. I know she had another one.
My favorite
Maybe it was
MTG
Justin Nick or something.
deck.
In any
I
case,
think it was a Justin Nick in Arsenal plus persuasive that would have made sense.
In
to go ahead and
Modern-
clear that Chum.
in any case,
Okay.
Chum off the
My
field, so
favorite
now
style of MTG deck was the Rakdos Luris control deck that existed for a little while, and I think it was Pioneer, but I don't remember which format it was. I really enjoyed that deck. It was just a lot of like trying to +1 advantage your opponent with cards and nickel and dime them. It's very grindy, very control-y. I really enjoy that style of deck. Got a Midas Touch.
Charles Dunn, we knew he had a plan with the 4 remaining cards. What is he going to do? It looks like Rigor Mortis.
No, that draft deck wasn't my favorite of all time. That was my favorite draft deck, but it's not actually my favorite way to play the game. That was my favorite draft deck because I got it for free every single draft. And it was just a repeatable strategy that let me 3-0 every draft.
Here we see our first call to the grave from Charles Dunn, and he's going to use it to get back alley breakline. I love
Like,
the information out of the
I
Gravy
felt
Bones
smart
deck.
by drafting that because it was something that no one else was doing in the format, and I just always got it for
How
free.
you're going to actually deploy your resources.
But I don't,
deploy
you know
your
me,
allies,
Julian,
and
I don't
then
like
attack with
playing
them multiple
fatigue
times per turn.
decks.
It's not easy like it
That's
was
not
in
how I
previous
want to
days.
play the game.
Gravy Bones, so many tricks available to go ahead and make this happen, and then turns it in with give no quarter. Resource rich is Charles Dunn.
Oh, he's
Able
rich.
to go ahead and play that chowder for free here.
And has go again from the compass, so he still has 2 action points. Death threats cannot be activated right now. No Corridor Watery Grave has entered the graveyard this turn, but 2 scary allies, with 2 chonky allies coming in. Not what an assassin wants to see.
Yeah, Chowder and Chum joining the fray on the back.
That's a
of
pretty
that
good board.
give no quarter plus back alley.
Stop punching me.
breakline
Leave me
shenanigans
alone.
for Charles Dunn. Really, really good turn. As you mentioned, particularly against assassins. This is where things can get a little awkward for Marionette. Really good at clearing those small allies, less good at dealing with things like
See, when I hear think of the getting rich, all I can think of is Dave Chappelle. I'm rich, bitch.
This game goes on.
I'm gonna go back to the Call to the Grave, Brian. We saw the card come out in Rosetta, and you know, there's some Leviathan players that were really hyped about the card, but here we see the full flexibility of the card. You can use it to go get a Watery Grave card from your deck, put in your graveyard, and it's a blue card itself that goes to a graveyard, turns on Gravy Bones.
I miss Dave Chappelle.
Here have back alley break lines, and those are giving action point and turn on Gravy as well. So the existence of that card is also itself very synergistic with the rest of the hero, and just adds to the flexibility of Call to the Grave. It's an amazing, fascinating use for a card.
So I'll give you
Got
some
undercover
background
acquisition.
While that card is being finalized, we know Gravy Bones is coming down the pipeline. And we're talking a lot about how important this card is for Gravy, and there's a lot of advocates within LSS, including James White himself, who said, this card should defend for 3. This is a card that Gravy Bones is going to need. And a lot of us went out and were like, this card cannot defend for 3. This is one of the most dangerous Flesh and Blood cards we have ever made. And ultimately,
Ooh, got a Cuddy
the,
Marvel.
2 blockers won the day. And Call to the Grave, though, I think this is a card that has a tremendous role to play in the future of Flesh and Blood. There's so many packages you can
Yeah,
start
who
to add
knew
to it.
Foolish
And the
Burial
back
was a
alley
good card?
combination, yes,
Gotta
it's
give
at
him a
its
quarter.
best in Gravy Bones. I don't think that's its end in the history of that card. There's so many more branching pathways that are going to be introduced over time. And I think Call to the Grave is a card that's probably here for a good time, not a long time. It's a card I view having limited shelf life in the history of this game.
And especially if it blocked 3, oh my god. I mean, the Leviathan players wouldn't have needed any convincing if it blocked 3, let alone the implications for Gravy Bones. On Yunez's side, she did manage to find a stains of the red back, so did clear the chum fairly cleanly. Kiss of Death, Tunic clearing the red back, got rid of the card. But I mean, this is a lot of offensive value that you're expending on these allies. Charles Dunn still sitting at a comfortable 36. Will Yunez be able to continue this clearing the board?
I think this is the first one of these we opened, Moray Lefay. That's a card that no one's playing that I think is like sleeper good. Good night, thanks for watching.
The problem with Gravy Bones is it puts you to work. You have to go ahead and clean up these allies turn after turn after turn. But you need damage too, and if you let Charles just sit there, have a totally safe life total. Charles Dunn and a healthy life total is a dangerous combination. You do not want that man to feel comfortable. You don't.
He was
want
also
him
the first one of these we
playing
opened,
a long
Riddle
game.
with
You want
Regret,
to wrap things up as quickly
which
as
I'm
possible.
okay with not opening more of
It
those.
is just able to
Card
kill the
sucks ass.
Challenger, but it's gained 2 life over the course of its existence. Done its job very admirably.
Well, if you count the 5 damage it soaked from the Green Polish, it kind of gained Charles on 7 life.
Yeah.
Got a
Remember, it was
foil
played off of a
Barbarage.
Give no quarter as well, so it was kind of played for free. Looks like the flip here is going to
I
be
think it
Arachne
might just
Tarantula,
be
which
a
is very
card that
strong
is
when
just
your opponent's already marked,
good.
and you have a Hunter Slave Green
I think
Polish for a setup.
It's just something that you can play to diversify your threats in play.
You might think, this isn't too good, but when you're sending a couple of daggers, a flick knives in the middle as well, suddenly this Tarantula is
Like, sure, you probably don't want it into
doing
every
a lot
deck.
more damage than you expected.
Chart the high seas here.
Gotta
from
tip the
Charles.
barkeep.
Did not find the yellow, so just gonna go ahead and pitch a
But you
blue
gotta have something to
here.
cover for different matchups
And
anyways in the deck.
blue that's gone to the yard on this turn. It is a starter, which is fascinating to think about, that now there's a new terminology for the term starter. We normally think about it in the context of Ninja,
Yeah,
where like
Draconic
you want that
starters.
Draconic starter. Gravy now in that same boat as well, saying, oh, I need blue starters in my deck.
Second chart here from Charles does find the yellow this time, as well as an additional blue. So
Yeah, it
just
doesn't
juiced up the
Look like
perfect
Charles
chart
has made
here.
very much gold
3
this game, right?
resources and a gold token, as well as an ally going.
I
to
feel
the
like his
graveyard.
deck
And that's a very
isn't
good
very
example.
good at
I
making
get
gold.
another solve
And got a
now.
sea
We
legs.
do need to talk about
And a
Arachne
chart.
and Charles'
Good
side.
pack.
Yunez has been able to clear these allies, and eventually, if you're out of Sawbones and out of chums,
Why do I think Riddle
how many
sucks?
relevant
So Riddle is actually for like rune chant stack decks, like decks that are just gonna ignorantly do nothing and just create a bunch of auras, and you just play that and you win the game. I think playing it into Illusionist is like probably pretty cope. You're spending a full card on this and then taking damage the turn you play it because it exists. So you like played a 1 card -1 when you play it, and then spent like, I don't know. I might not even necessarily have enough that it's worth it, but a lot of the times into like Illusionists, that's just not what the game is about. Like, my life total is not the relevant factor here. and you will not be able to put out enough offensive pressure with your available card pool to change that. So I don't really think this is an anti-illusionist card. I think this is an anti-runeshant card. Might be annoying against as an illusionist. You're like, huh, I don't really want to take that much off of this, but whatever. They can't really do anything else to me. I'm sure it's pretty annoying if you can get the illusionist low enough that they just like die to this, but that's unlikely. Given the nature of that matchup.
Have remaining. I mean, the limpets and the rigor mortises can be easily cleared by the dagger setup on Inez's side. So Charleston needs to be a little bit careful. There's no way to repair these allies once they go to the graveyard. They go face down.
This is a very real plan against Gravy Bones, and we're going to see this plan play out, I think, many times throughout this weekend. Can you run
Charles
Gravy
starting
Bones
with the
out of
Conquer?
allies? Can you run him out of threats, and then ultimately
I do think you can run
Fatigue?
Charles out of
Very,
allies.
very
He's not playing
real
that many.
approach that, you know, Fatigue is not something
Got a
that
foil
most
return fire
decks
and a
have
Conqueror of the High
access to in
Seas.
the default. But basically,
All right, Charles,
deck
play
can
more Conquer the
Fatigue
High
Gravy
Seas because we're
Bones
going to
and
open
do
one
a
every
good
time you
enough
play
job
one.
Going after their allies. So it's an interesting strategy. We'll see how much players have picked it up in the short time they've been testing against Gravy Bones. I do know that players in that short time have picked up that Conqueror of the High Seas is messed up, Ponkage. 8 go again on offer here from this big ship, as well
Speak
as
of Riddle,
potential
here's
gold
another.
generation.
And this is a very, very good fork because you are...
I think Riddle could be
Play some
interesting
allies.
if we get more
So
ways
the
to
opponent wants to keep cards
give
to play your allies,
tokens to the opponent,
but
kind of like
you
how
send a Conqueror of the High
codexes
Seas
do,
at them, how are they gonna
where
start?
you can
I was
combine it
actually expecting Inez to
and
flip the
guarantee
trapdoor
more
with it,
damage
gonna
out of
make
it
sure free block.
and
Looks
make
like
it an
he has the
offensive
T-React
tool
instead.
in other
And
matchups,
is able to cover up the
and then
Conqueror
it's just
of the High Seas
incidentally
with the
better
Black
against
Widow.
things
That
like
is
Illusionist.
a fascinating choice because Black
But we're
Widow
pretty far
wants
away
to be
from that.
sending that at face, but you also know Charleston is going to resolve some allies here. So is Inez going to forego a turn of
It could be that they're trying to
in
open up the
exchange for
design
having a
space for
very,
that
very
for the
strong
future.
offensive turn,
Give no
just going
quarter.
straight at Charleston.
It's so hard, Ponkage. It's so hard to ever take a turn off clear.
And a Dead
Threats.
Threats.
You have to keep doing
Another
the work.
good
You have to
box.
keep Gravy under control, or things get bad fast. And Whaler Humperdinck is an ally. Man, it's hard to take this very seriously. But Whaler
yeah.
Humperdinck is a problem for opponents.
He's called Gravy Bones, Brian.
Yeah, fair enough.
A little bit right there too before you even get to the allies. But that has made its way to the yard. Bit of a contentious choice in some deck lists, if you will. A lot of Gravy Bones players think they actually don't need this card. They have a good
I
enough
don't think
endgame
I actually
setup.
have a play
Without
set
this
of
card, Charleston
Call to the
is bringing it
Graves.
in this matchup.
That's
You have to
unfortunate.
imagine, perhaps
Let me
it's
check how
just
many I have.
It's an assassin, so I bring it in. And
Another
perhaps
Dovetail.
it very much reads like a sideboard card. Okay, this is the matchup he wants to bring it in.
Charles is going to deploy the Sawbones here, so it looks like Whaler not ready to get into the mix quite yet.
And now again, this is just a fork that Gravy needs to deal with. You've played this. This had go again. Its attack does not though. So
I have
you can attack
one
with it,
single
or do you
Call
want
to
to
the Grave.
play another
Unlucky.
card? Yeah, it looks like Call to Grave, or you play the amulet that's in his hand.
What
and
set
then
is Call to the
forego
Grave?
potentially
Rosetta?
Attacking with the ally. So
Well, maybe. It depends if Charles has another back alley break line, and then maybe you can
There's one in
just
the
do it
armory
all.
deck?
So let's
Oh, I'm
see.
stupid
Rippling
good. I
through
just
the
bought
deck
2
here,
armory
looking
decks.
For something. I did not see another back alley, so it
So
looks like
skilled at the
Swabby
game.
is going to be the ally that goes ahead and heads to the bin.
just filling up the yard, man. That deck is suddenly looking really, really thin. And this
It goes
is only
thin
turn
quick.
4.
It goes thin quick, Ponce.
Card the high seas as well. It's a card you're playing. You know,
Yep.
it doesn't put any offense on its own, and it's milling you a card and it's a card.
Because I want all the cards to be non-foil, and I assume that the deck came with one foil of each card.
Because Carter Watery Grave has entered the graveyard, and Charles Zahn recognizing opponent
Gotta
has spoken,
deny
Black
redemption.
Widow wants to keep those cards. Just get the free gold off the gold.
Is that not the case? Do the cards come
Makes sense. A free pickup. What do you think?
all
about that
non-foil in the
call to
deck?
grave,
Did I misplay?
Ponce?
I think that goes to what you were speaking about earlier, Brian. That you can't really go super wide as Gravy. So sometimes you have these awkward spots where I think he was forced to use that Call to Grave just so he can actually convert his hand fully.
Is every card in the deck non-foil?
Necessarily his happiest use.
Minus the equipment, maybe?
You want to use it as one of your starters, but he was kind of flush with starters. He played 2 Charter High Seas that turn, and then another Call to Grave. Just needed ways to actually use the whole hand, and he couldn't attack with an ally and resolve another ally, so he was caught between, maybe he could resolve just another ally, but then not attack at all. Then you're giving up the gold and 6 damage. It's just a fork that the deck building of Gravy Bones unfortunately puts you in.
So this will be.
No
Okay, then I
block
can't tell if I
here
misplayed or not,
on this bond
because I need the other Call to the
Inez
Grave.
is able to power this up. via those onboard reactions, uses both the Black Widow.
Did I see 2 Rigor Mortises in Charlton's hand? That is that's every assassin player's dream. You want the Bonds of Agni to hit, and they're holding 2 of the same card in their hand. 2 cards of the same name.
Charles is going to have to break that one up. Go ahead, picks up another card.
I would not want to pronounce the full name of rigor mortis as a caster.
Maybe not reaching for the
This is
blood
just
on
me.
the water at first.
Has to be Rigor Mortis.
I would be shorthanding that to Morty all day. I ain't getting canceled.
Okay. That's a gold-plated. That's a gold-plated hook, Brian. That gold that he got from that Sawbones was absolutely necessary.
Yeah, whatever. I'll just like sell the cards. It's not a big deal, but
Yeah, and Charles actually finds a full cover here with blood on the water, defense reaction out of hand, plus Sawbones.
Got a
as
return
with the
fire.
Other rigor mortis. So very, very clean stuff here from Charles, but the offense does not end here, as Inez now has that beautiful Marvel Codex of Frailty to go ahead and refresh the arsenal and finds the Kiss of Death. So just looking at some damage here. Wonder if that's just going to go ahead and be on Sawbones duty, keep that ally from getting out of control.
That ally is so frustrating when you're a deck that relies
if you get
on
return
certain
fire in
lands
draft
as much
though,
as
you
so
really need to get
could
the helmet that
definitely
returns
see
your
that
arsenal to your hand.
Yeah, it is going towards Sawbone. Also, no leave no witnesses in Inez's graveyard as well. We saw this happen with Andy in the previous match as well.
I think it's like
So you might as well
mandatory
just use it
at
to
that
clear
point.
Yard, because if you're codexing and you're not attacking your opponent's arsenal, it sometimes feels like a bit of a weak codex.
Also, what's cute is you could, if you have the hat, you can just arsenal the return fire and then return it to your hand and block with it, and you know for sure your arsenal's empty now that you've drawn it.
I was hiding the hand from us there. I just want to take a moment to reflect on how bad Charles's hand was facing down that Bonds. But Gravy gives you all the tools, man. It just lets you out of all these situations so
Yeah, Gravy is
cleanly.
sick.
So
I think the thing that's really drawing me to
Charles
him
navigating that very
is
well.
all the card filtering that you have with him, between the compass, between the hero power, between the
that
gold,
first
between
play
everything
that we
else.
just turned, we spoke about the
Got a
call for the
foil
day.
riddle with
You
regret.
wanted, if you went for the call, if you play the second ally, he doesn't get to attack with the one damage, means he doesn't get the gold. If he didn't get the gold, he wouldn't have been able to filter.
Nobody
Yeah.
plays around the
That
set
would've
block
been-
card.
Changed everything. Yeah.
Exactly. So, Charlton already showing some prowess on this deck, despite it coming out, well, basically today. But I have to point out the size of that deck, Brian. While he has no board state right now, you have to
Escalate
wonder,
bloodshed.
Inez is potentially playing.
Just a few packs left and then we're done.
Here. You're doing a fatigue axis.
Get to sorting.
The axis of I'm an assassin disrupting you to your face.
Got
You
a
might need
platinum
to
amulet.
too many cards to
Wow,
block
we have
you,
not
and then
opened
you
many
might just run out of
amulets.
threats.
Charles playing out that diamond amulet here.
Another, ooh, a foil
Boys,
Conqueror of the High
Rigor Mortis
Seas.
Gonna come in for
Nice.
6.
Frailty token does nothing against allies. These are not weapon attacks.
Here, I guess.
And they're obviously not coming from Arsenal.
It's funny, you see these vanilla allies, as we call them, you know, they don't have any extra ability. These are CC quality cards, though, just on the back of their raw numbers.
Yeah, 6-1 stat line. It's
Man, I should have opened these once Charles started playing. We opened 2 high Conquerors as soon as Charles started playing.
From Gravy Bones. If people remember, Dromize and Sarakai is very one health
Got a
ally
Cogworks
that
Workshop.
dealt a lot of damage when it attacked. Rigomars gives me the same.
Yeah, I
feel.
saw that.
However, 1 health for an assassin, a little bit easier. For
I was
them to
looking
do
it
with
up
the
to
token
sell to
now
one of my
for
buddies, and then I
as well.
saw it was like $1 million, and he was like, "Never mind, I don't want it anymore."
Refresh that Chalicerin.
Rigor Mortis, not its
Chalicerin
strongest in
able
this
to offer
matchup.
4 to Charles here, still has 2
Just gets
resources.
picked
and
off for
Hunter's
free.
Play back up. Should be 5 on the back of the Marionette. We'll see if players catch that one.
And leaving the one floating for the Hunter's Clay, which you imagine has to be going towards the Rigor Mortis.
Go to reactions. Blood on the water. No effect. Okay.
Maybe a bit of a miss there, but Hunter's Clave comes through and cleans up the Rigor Mortis.
Got a
follow-up of
surface
Leave
shaking.
No witnesses from Arsenal here for Inez.
Didn't have one in the yard for the Codex of Frailty, but this was the random ponder draw. So the Codex of Frailty did finally leave no witnesses in the end, and Charles already used his 4 block.
Light of Soul is good in every single matchup
Because
that
he
you
wasn't
play,
sure
but it's
whether
not
Inez would
integral
actually
to you
send something
winning
afterwards.
any
So
of the
we're actually
matchups.
slightly punished over there, but that's-
Library
you
is
can't really hedge at that point.
fairly
You don't know what they're
integral
used
to how you beat some of the fatigue decks, or just like blocky decks, to go over what they're able to do. Like, your win percentage against a number of these decks skyrockets just for library existing in your deck. I don't think it's like that big of a deal when you get first, to be honest. if you know that your area has a lot of blocky decks, then I would probably get library first. Ugh. That's the last box. We got a lot of people here. I guess, not a lot, but like a lot of active people here at least. I guess we can open the gold packs now. Let me just clean this off a bit. I'd say those are pretty good boxes. What do you say, chat? Do you think those are good boxes? God, my other desk is just all bulk now. Just piles of bulk. Edging you guys like the spoilers for High Seas edged everyone. Alright. Let's make big. Chat's gonna be covered for a sec. Deal with it. Unlucky. Golden Tipple, that's actually, I imagine, a decent one. Ooh! Nice. This is one of the best ones I think you can get. I actually have 2 of these now. Hey, Smurf. Listen, we just have to watch Charles and then we get all the boats. It's just that easy. Mutiny. Sunken Treasure, that's a good one, right? How much is Sunken, chat? Speak of the patch. Pilfer the Wreck. Doo-doo. We got 5 left. Some more piss-colored cards. Gross. Bro, give us like more than 1 good card here. Hello? I guess 2. Shh. Let me complain. Let me complain, chat. Let me have this. Come on. Come on. Alright, last one. What do you think it's going to be, chat? Any guesses? What do you think it's going to be? It's not cold foil. Dog shit. That's what it is. Unlucky. Only 2 good cards. See? Never lucky. Don't look at the rest of my opening, though. Never lucky. At least we got, like, one of the best ones. I guess just sleeve these. Alright, let's make small... Nope. Wrong thing. God damn it. That's good. I think we'll leave it like that. Hey, Brendan. Goes good. Just finished our opening. Now we're going to go back to watching coverage and sort some cardboard.
Gonna keep that arsenal. It was a random draw after all. Looks like flip gonna happen here. It's gonna be red back over here. Probably one of the stronger agents of chaos against a deck like Gravy Bones. You just want more go again, keep the board clear, and eventually Charlton might run out of allies. Again, no way to recur those watery grave allies. Even something like a Remembrance wouldn't do it because they're face down in your graveyard.
I think I might have given Inez the gold there to put that on the bottom.
To overcome an anemic defensive suite of equipment. One block on that gold-baited hook.
There are no riggers in the graveyard. The only water
Dead threads also. Not
Charles
a lot of
feeling
block
brave with his
available to
pronunciation.
Gravy Bones as of now. Charles, though, cashing in some of it, covering up that leave no witness. And Rigor Mortis does his thing once more, coming in for 6. And Inez's life total is going down. It doesn't feel like Charles is doing that much. It's just deploying allies, little steps here, little steps there. But Inez has to keep so many cards to try and offer both offense, taking down Charles' life total, and clearing up these allies, that bit by bit, Charles is pulling ahead in this matchup.
Looks like Mark the Black Widow now starting off Inez's turn over here.
So
Pressuring Charles's hand.
pretty easy read for Charles. You have to assume there is some go again.
Well, red back is like on the field.
Ah, fair enough.
So
yeah.
you know, at minimum, this
The
is gonna be
easiest read.
exactly.
The face-up read.
This is at minimum 6 go again already, and potentially more. So perhaps Charles is saying, "All right, cool." One thing about Black Widow, though, unlike Persuasive Prognosis or Bonds of Agony, you don't get to choose.
Oh yeah, I have the Gravy Bone deck. I should open that.
Charles gets to choose, so he has full information. He's saying, "Fine, you are obviously holding all these tricks up your sleeve. I'm gonna go ahead and let this hit. I'll just lose a card from my hand. You took a lot of damage to make this play. This is fine."
Charles, just life rich, plenty of life to work with. And I wonder if Charles, with that give no quarter drawn, can start thinking about setting up a big double ally turn, maybe including that Whaler. Something like Swabby plus Whaler can be real scary over on Inez's side.
And thanks to Goldkiss Run, could potentially even attack with it on this exact same turn. You know, we spoke about how Gravy Bones' action point.
It comes with a young foil gravy? That's weird.
To give you the Goldkiss Rum to resolve allies and attack with them. Gravy can set up easily double ally turns with Compass. But
Wait,
can't
is this
attack
a
with either
Blitz
of them
deck?
Unless you have Goldkiss Rum.
Rigor Mortis was cleared here, but Charles Dunn with a nice looking Gravy Bones hand at the ready. Give no quarter.
Chat, is this a Blitz deck?
A Basti.
He's looking at that Whaler umpiting. Be such a problem for Inez to clear that card if it hits the field. Especially if Charles also gets to attack with it the turn it comes down.
The question is, how many Whalers does Charles have? Does he have to hold a little bit longer and think about the late game instead? Can just do a smaller play here with something like the Avasti.
Oh, I see. It's at the
Just
back for
Rebel,
the
another one
CC
of those
stuff.
Solid starters for Gravy Bones, especially since out of all the pirate heroes, he has the easiest access to know the color of the top card of the deck.
Yep. Charles has already taken a look, but just going to fire Avasti here. Now the blue has been deployed. Swabby going to be the ally.
And its attack has go again, thanks to the Avasi.
One resource still left. I wonder if Charles does have one more ally to go ahead and deploy in this scenario. Not exactly sure of what that graveyard looks like, but more damage from Charles. More damage coming through is an additional reaction here.
Taking one. All right,
No mark from Level Spider, as Charles pointed out. It's not an attacking hero, so no mark happens. Just going to be a vanilla block 3 Level Spider.
Gold picked up from that Avasti as well. We see the difference when Gravy has gold versus when Gravy
I'm
doesn't.
just gonna pass.
And Charles just passes here.
So no use for the go again afterwards. So yeah, he's making a correct read there. I mean, Charles had the rum to potentially resolve another ally and attack with it as well. But now just a 3 health ally, that's something Assassin can deal with. Pretty much every stealth card attacks for 3. You can kind of just clear it.
And there's a little.
So I don't get a
red
playset
over there.
of
Did block with
a
her
vast ease, and I
So
only
up
get
sticks
one
in
call of the
run
grave.
as well as a
Scar
tissue.
So I think I might
Yes,
just
it's gonna
still
have
open
to
the other
use
one.
The Chelicerae to clear out the Swabby along with a reaction.
The Swabby? Yeah. Okay, yeah.
So again, another anemic turn that Inez was forced into. And now Charles, 5 cards at the ready. Gold Kiss Rum out there. Go ahead, take a peek, understand what we're working with. Feels like the world is Charles's oyster on this particular turn. Not Oyston, oyster, Ponkage.
The give no quarter was sent to the pitch zone though. So gonna have to see how well he can convert.
See if Charles
This
wants to give us a peek.
Attack with Golden Tipple. Discard yellow. Yep. To make a second gold and
A blue golden
draw.
tipple. It's one of those cards which you think is just draft chaff, and you play in CC, and it does so much. Because not only does it sort of get you started, it is a blue starter with Go Again. You love that. Almost like a Mystic Hero. You want your blue starters with Go Again. But also, it means it lets you freely activate Hook this turn, and that's one of the parts of this card which is potentially underrated. You have made the gold already, which means no matter what, your Hook will not get destroyed, because you've already made the gold this turn. But you potentially get extra gold and you ask your opponent, do you want to block my vanilla damage attacks and make me a gold? And even if you block it, I'm still keeping my Hook around. Very, very strong side benefit of a card like Golden Tipple.
Why does it only come with 2 Avasties?
Gravy activation here from
This is
Charles,
just a
looking
bulk
to
card
freshen
from
up
the
that
set,
hand
right?
even more. What do you think about the inclusion of Cuddy Shark as one of Charles's allies here?
I think it's one of those cards that reads stronger than it is. That has been my experience with the card. I think the one cost to attack with it does make it quite awkward. It always asks you, can you expend the rest of your resources when you pitch for this? The fact that it has an effect that rewards you for having a whiteboard is quite nice. It does increase its threat level, if you will. The opponent can't just leave it there. Whereas if you have a bunch of Swabbies, it's very difficult for you to get value out of all of them, for example. But yeah, it's one of those cards that to me read stronger than it actually is in practice. But of course, I haven't tested this deck as much as Charles has. Do you have an opinion on Cutty?
I think the 4 health is what really makes this card interesting
What the
to me, and how
fuck?
awkward that
Why
can
is
be
the
for
chest
so many
piece
different classes.
40
It
bucks?
really feels like 3 is that break point, and 4 is where things start getting a little bit more awkward. And what I've seen from Charles's build so far, it's about slow accumulation of value. And I know
What
that's a
the
huge
fuck?
shocker to anyone who knows Charles Dunn, that he's out here just trying to turn by turn cycle, get a little bit more from his deck than his opponent does. I would say this is exactly what I would expect a Charles Dunn built gravy list to look like, and a card like Cuddy Shark actually seems like the perfect inclusion for him.
The one cost as well plays nicely with Death Threads for sure. You can call to a grave.
Oh,
put
it's
it
so
in the
weird.
yard,
Some of them
use Death
have
Threads, play it
CC
out,
on the
which
card.
is very, very strong. Looks like there's a bit of a priority window happening over here where players are thinking what to do. Looks like gravy activations on the stack.
Oh, fuck.
as in
I
this
hate
particular
that.
target. Charles Dunn.
Oh, this
thinking
triggers my
about a
OCD.
potential response over here.
Any thoughts on what she might be?
I do not play Blitz at all. Well, the deck is supposed to be like 40, 50 bucks, right? And this chest is like shit. Why is this chest worth as much as the deck and it doesn't see play? Huh? Huh? Okay, chat, I figured it out. We're going to open another deck so I can have a full set of cards that don't say CC on them. Because fuck that, that's cringe.
Be debating here, Ponkage?
You know, if this was the other assassin, I would say Passover would be like what I'd be thinking about. But in Arachne Marinette, I am at a slight loss at an instant speed effect that can interact with the graveyard. Yeah. Not entirely sure if that's a priority window thing, or maybe just a different judge call about a certain interaction. Potentially, probably the latter. Probably some sort of interaction.
Yeah, yeah.
that,
Maybe getting some clarity around exactly that
other big stuff.
the ability. Golden Tipple has now wrapped up.
Gravy Bones is active. A blue has been played.
Out of my graveyard, pitcher blue, so I've got 1 float.
And Chum hits the field.
Then I'm going to activate Mage Master.
Ah, looks like going to be joined by another ally as well. We see the Mage Master boots come down, do their thing. Cuddy Shark joining the fray.
Yeah, go again. Activate Dead Threads to trigger Cuddy Shark. And
So +1 to the Chum's attack, and then Chum gets an attack for free. And Gold Hook, remember, Golden Tipple has been played, gold has been created, so blocking this 5-out prevents a gold, but doesn't make the gold-baited hook blow up.
And this is a big squeeze for Inez because you would love to deny the gold here. You also need to protect your life total. You're at 13, but look at the health of these allies. 4 on the side of Cuddy Shark, 6 on the side of Chum.
Doesn't the chest just turn a card in your hand into the pitch value it already pitches for?
Amongst 2 separate targets.
You can just pitch the card.
You have a turn-by-turn accumulating value problem when you're already behind on life totals.
E-Strike in Inez's hand, though, potentially very helpful for this. Looking at his hand, I think it's going to be tough for her to get rid of both allies, so potentially his E-Strike or the Chum deal with the Cuddy in the following turn. Of course, E-Strike go again into Cuddy, and then CNC into Chum could potentially do it. It looks like...
That's so much given up, though, Pankaj.
Yeah, but I think at this point, Inez's win condition is actually potentially run Charles Dunn out of allies. Like, when you're 16 points behind, you can't just leave Charles with a board, especially a board that has Chum and Cuddy on it, which can reward you for having, like, big boards. So at this point, potentially, Inez saying, I'm just going to run you out of allies, and that's my only way to win this game.
I agree with you, Pankaj. I think that's 100% correct, but as you mentioned, Charles coming to the table with a very ally-heavy list. And I think that's the biggest problem for Inez, is that there's just so many allies left for Charles, including a huge one like Whaler, where if you were again able to set up a double ally turn and Whaler's part of that, it can be real trouble. And God forbid Charles finds something like a double Whaler setup, which is a very real endgame that I see.
No, pitch value, not cost.
Quite often.
I want to call out a card that Inez just drew, a Sink Below in her hand against a board state deck like Gravy. Interesting.
Yeah, it's just Necro. But also,
Inez recognizing that
Dead Threads
Gravy
exist.
isn't quite a full illusionist, where they can always convert the wide boards. You do need to play a little bit of the value game, so keeping this D-React in the deck is Inez, which I think makes a lot of sense. And goes to show how she's, still very much in this game. We've seen so many allies. Look at the face-down graveyard size, Brian. It's almost the same size as the face-up graveyard. That's the number of allies Inez has dealt with and is still alive.
And look at this card coming off the top, Pankaj. It is a second Whaler, and this is a bigger deal than it seems like, just this card being revealed, because now Inez knows that Charles does have something like a
Nice.
2 Whaler setup in
Charles
his
should be able to
range.
close with a
Also
Whaler.
pitched,
Just like play Whaler, force the
give no
whole
quarter,
hand.
excuse me, a give no quarter earlier in the game, so that's going to come back around. That deck for Charles, not huge. I don't think we're that far off that card coming back around, and if Charles is able to execute the double Whaler setup, that could
I'm just
be
gonna
the
grab a
end
Vast
for
Use from
Inez's
the
hopes
set.
of
I don't want
fatiguing Charles
fucking
out of this game.
two that
Gravy as like a
are from
value
this.
combo deck, where it has
No
this
surprise.
double
No
Whaler
surprise at all.
end state combo, rather than a pure value deck that some other Gravy decks enjoy to do. Looks like he's pitching into the gold this time instead of just activating Gravy. Pitching a blue, lead the charge. Now with the Jittery Bones, Gravy is online. He's able to play allies, and probably just leaving both Whalers. Oh, playing one of them right now.
And then
you need to be a little more specific than just draft tips. But if you've played no drafts so far, I don't know, go play some drafts. That seems like the best advice I could give.
activate Dead Threads for a resource.
Yeah, it looks like Whaler Attack is the name of the game. So Charles just saying, you know, I could set up double Whaler, but how about I just attack for 11? And
Well,
Inez
then
does have
go
good defensive
join the
capabilities.
Runaways draft queues and draft for free. That is not an excuse. Did I already grab these cards? Am I stupid? Oh, I already grabbed these. I am stupid. Where is it? Where's my chat? That should be the link to the Runaways Discord. And there is a draft queue somewhere in there. And there should be a tab with all the info explaining how to go about doing it.
On this turn, but does need to spend the next turn clearing out that whaler.
Beyond that, you're on your own, my friend.
To clear this for a clean 7, and now importantly, Charleston doesn't have the double whaler setup, unless he has a third whaler. But I mean, he still has a setup of whaler plus something else, which would still be very, very backbreaking.
Yeah,
First,
I think he could have a third whaler. Like, I don't think that's impossible. But second, with Inez at 5, it matters so much less. Like, good on Charles for recognizing, yes, I could do this double whaler setup, but if I offer this damage here, the next whaler is going to do the exact same thing. Like, if Charles does that same sequence again and Inez leaks damage one more time, she's dead. She can't let that kind of damage come through. So Charles just recognizing the life total has gotten low enough at this point to go ahead. And now you see an ally count from Charles, understanding exactly what's left. And I think he has recognized that he's moved into the potential checkmate phase of this game very, very cleanly.
And there's only so many 7 attacks, and then as a side, like E-Strike's pretty much the only card that Marinette has access to that can actually clear a whaler.
Yeah, if you can play a humper and force 3 cards, the
that
game's
is the
basically over.
Problem of just Charles just resolving a single whaler once again.
Yeah, Charles just gets to start brokering in numbers now with things like Conqueror of the High Seas, potentially into Ally. Does have 2 resources still floating here. Not sure of the exact ally available in Graveyard.
And Portside Exchange was played already, so Blue has been played, has entered the Graveyard from Gravy Bones' ability. You know it's going to be another ally from the yard, and an attack with the ally as well. However, Inez does have a leave no witnesses, a nice 0 for 4 to deal with the ally, but she's leaking a lot of damage here.
Charles
Brian.
just demanding cards at this point, which is so problematic for Inez, and able to use that Dead Threads resource to go ahead and get a Chowder out. But yeah, just fire this Chowder, offer the damage, and Inez forced to defend one more time. Gold was already made, so Gold Baited Hook was free, and Inez has to use last card to clear Chowder here. A little bit of life for Charles Dunn, and actually I think, as strange as it sounds, Charles can probably fatigue Inez now because of the amount of damage he's going to be able to offer turn after turn. I think Charles is checkmating on all fronts the way he's navigated this game.
And he has found that Give No Quarter has come back around to it. We're going to see another whaler. Now, Inez does have a CNC here. So between Clave and CNC with the Tunic counter has a 2-card play to deal with the Humperdinck, but you can't also block 11.
Yeah, she needs to make a 3-card block, Punkage. And once you have to make a 3-card block, you can't really get through this state anymore. Gravy activation, going to kick things off here. Card picked up. Swabby just hits the bin.
What's the blue is going to be? It's going to be Give No Quarter. We might see the Gold Kiss Rum here as well for the coup de grace.
Yeah, that seems like a totally reasonable end state. There you see this whaler come back.
Well, can't do the Gold Kiss. Already tapped a hero.
And we're going to attack as well, coming in for 11 on the whaler.
And now, yep, minimum 3-card block. So you can't clear the whaler Humperdinck. This looks to be the endgame checkmate that you were talking about, Brian. Charles Dunn, so few cards in deck, but still managed to bring it to the checkmate state. And you have to wonder, this is one of those things, right? Maybe once you play against Gravy a little bit more, maybe you don't take lines that Inez was taking earlier, where you take damage from allies.
Could be that you're supposed to play like Gravekeeping for this matchup, just to put the Humpers face down.
Setting any damage to face, because if she had more life here, she
I think it's
potentially could fatigue.
pretty hard to fatigue as long as Humper exists.
Against this deck, and to be honest, we don't even know if that's a correct solution as well.
Here's the thing. There are Gravy Bones decks you can fatigue as Marinette. I don't think Charles Dunn's deck is one of them, actually, the way it's set up. I think, as I mentioned, there's just too many end states he can set up. And especially at this stage of practice, take nothing away from Inez. She might have, dozens, maybe 100 matches into Gravy. But do you have 100 matches into Charles Dunn's approach to Gravy, which is going to be different from everyone else? And now Gold Kiss Rum doing its thing, offering go again to this whaler attack. One more time, at least 3 cards from hand going to be demanded here from Inez, and that means there's going to be no clear. But the problem here, follow-up from Charles Dunn. More damage on offer after this. Does have the sink to cover a little bit extra here.
I was just going to say, Inez has found another 2-card play to deal 7 damage in the form of Kiss of Death in the Scar Tissue, but force the block.
Yeah,
because of the way Humperdinck.
Now Give No Quarter gets in the mix, and that's going to go ahead and let this Swabby be deployed. Swabby comes in for the attack, offers 7, and gets the fist bump. Graveyard Q Bones looking very impressive in the hands of Charles Dunn.
Our first time seeing Gravy on a feature match area does end up with a very, very convincing win for our Pirate Necromancer, the first of its class to come to Flesh and Blood, piloted by an old US national champion, Charles Dunn.
All the right side of your screen with Puffin. Shadow, so cute. Nathan is so fantastic. I just want to shout out up at the top there. His sleeves were illustrated by his kid.
Oh.
So
Oh, that's
I
cute.
reached out to him with an interview for people who top 8'd at last year's Nationals. And 3 days ago, he said, we're locking in Azalea. Last night, 7 p.m., he says, never mind. I'm sleeving up Puffin. We're playing Puffin tomorrow.
Incredible.
So he might be just as surprised as we are to see him here on that hero.
Yeah, and you know, with the sleeves there drawn up by his kid, maybe it was even his kid who said, "Daddy, play the funny bird instead." And perhaps that is why we see Polly Crank it there in the arena. His first turn looks like that boom grenade, not going to crank it, going to keep it around for the other turn. So established a permanent, established an arsenal, and we can see in the equipment loadout opting for the heavy industry gear shift, as well as the Cogworks Tinkerings and that Crown of Dominion.
Yeah, Crown of Dominion is a really fascinating
cool.
thing to see.
Sure.
A lot of these pirate heroes pick up so quickly. I wasn't really sure early on if that was the kind of thing that was like, you know, it's so expensive to give up your head slot just to start the game with a gold on the board, but Puffin is so married to finding that
What
first
boots is
gold.
he
It's
playing? I
just
can't
so
tell.
important for how her
Are those
deck
the Dash
functions
Armory deck
that
ones?
It really does just start to replace that 2 value that you might get by presenting Crown of Providence.
And on Thomas's side, we can see it's a standard equipment loadout. We've got the vest, the knives, the scalers, and the mask. But we've got, interestingly enough, in the pitch zone, a card that is a little more controversial when you think back on where this deck started. It's a blue, and it's Throw Daggers as the second kunai hits the combat chain.
Actually, going back to the equipment a little bit, that Snapdragon Scalers is not what I would expect to see.
What is it, like
When
top
you
2
sit on
cards?
the vast
Gain an
majority of
action
Syndra
point
decks
for each mecha
representing
card?
Dragon Scaler Flight Path, both because it blocks one and because it can give go again only 2 Draconic attacks, but at instant speed, allowing you to do it after damage is dealt. So perhaps we might be seeing some more generics in the Syndra deck. We might see the return of Snatch, a classic aggro deck staple, threatening a draw if it comes across.
Display Loyalty here is going to come out and on attack make the fealty. When the Display Loyalty hits the combat chain, looks like they're trying to grab maybe a fealty right here. Perhaps, but we're going to see on the attack, it's coming in for 3. The heavy industry gear shift got in the way of the second chain link, trying to stop that Mask of Momentum with the Battle Worn. And you can see Nathan, he's here for a good time, not a long time, as he maybe signifies with that block.
Blood runs deep, lurking in Thomas's hand here. Often one of the only reasons you'll really see Syndra opt to swing these daggers is because she has a way to refresh them all on the same turn. These blues give you a little bit more access to swinging them more frequently, but you have to have a plan for getting them back, and Blood Runs Deep is really perfect for that.
Let's see just precisely what our players are reaching for. Have to imagine it's for the fealty. And we got it. Fealty has hit the arena. Nathan saying no blocks, going to take the 3 on down to 36. Thomas has got a couple of options. He had the blue to pay for the kunai. Perhaps it's time for the arena.
I will say it is really
Unfrozen.
cringe that Aeronaut is in the draft format.
Blood
I
run
lost
deep.
a game
No,
at the
look at
pre-release
Mike.
to
Might
that
get a Brave
card.
Blade Dance. He switches it back out.
It was like a
covers the hand above the
25
chain.
damage turn that he
Let's see
ended
what
with
the
that.
call is
I
gonna
was like,
be.
what the fuck?
Gonna be a big one. Either way, it is gonna be the blood.
How
run
is this
deep.
legal?
So on attack, both of those kunais gonna flame
And he had no
across
cogs in
the
play at the
arena.
start of the turn.
Nathan will take that 2 damage down to 34, and then the 2 damage from the blood runs deep as well. That he has to think about here. It's gonna be looks like no blocks. Yeah, taking the 2 down to 32. Syndra here gonna go ahead, grab the daggers back. No Flick Knives activation yet on the turn.
It's so difficult to justify blocking Blood Runs Deep unless it's already the 3rd chain link for Mask of Momentum, since by the time you get the opportunity to block, the chain link has already hit as far as Mask of Momentum is concerned.
And now Nathan here has a pretty easy 3 block to just go ahead and cover up the Mask of Momentum. It will be the end of the possibilities here. It's going to be one of the new cards, the Cogwork Workshops, getting in the way. Thomas here went for this play to try to get.
I think
you
that's
know,
I
another
hit the
card on
concede
turn,
button.
and on doing so, is going to take himself off an arsenal, so we'll only be working off the 4 cards on the next turn cycle. This is where the Flick Knives comes in. Syndra here has already been activated, so that means she's only got the 1 dagger for the rest of this turn cycle, as we're going to ship the turn back on over to our brand new Mechanologist.
Depending on the blue count in the deck, 1 dagger may be all he needs. Some of these Syndra decks really only play, you know, 3 copies of Throw Dagger, or, I mean, on a generous day, 3 blues.
Why do you say it has to go in a normal sleeve?
Grenade, gonna go ahead and tick down the crank. Polycranka is going to hit the arena, come back into the arena, tapped and cranked as well. And that means when Puffin goes ahead and either turns that gold into a golden cog or plays something else like a boom grenade, or even the cog in the machine, the cog work.
Committing to Puffin this early is pretty interesting.
Here on out is going to go ahead and refresh the hand for Puffin.
Speaking of that crank, it looks like Puffin is going to be the source of that crank, destroying a gold to make a golden cog. This is, you know, the gears that turn in the center of Puffin's game plan. This is how you get these free card draws from her hero ability. You have all these cards you already want to be putting on the table, like that boom grenade, and you're just going to get to replace them.
Pretty sick interaction if you don't know this. If you play either Puffin or Prism. I'm sure I have some Prism viewers here at least. When they activate Poly and put him in Banish, you can crack your Halo and grab Judgment, turn the Poly face down, and it just ends their turn. It can no longer enter play because it's face down, and it uses their action point to banish it. So they just time walk themselves if you have Halo up.
For free in your hand, as long as you can find the gold generation to make it keep
You can
going.
also play Herald of Ravages, or Figment of Ravages, and shoot it off of their shoulder.
Looks like it might be the soup up coming up next. This is just the blue variety, but even though it only threatens 2 damage here, it does also represent the on-hit of the boom
Send
grenade.
Poly to the Shadow Realm.
Interesting synergy going on here as well is that since Puffin destroys a gold, Soup Up's conditional go again is more or less always live in this hero between either activating Puffin to destroy a gold or your golden cogs destroying themselves due to them running out of steam counters at the start of your turn.
Dude, something I totally missed. It's the Teklo Plasma Pistol for Puffin. It's not the Spitfire. It's not the Blunderbuss. This is
Why
the
Plasma
old
Pistol?
Mechanologist weapon of yesteryear.
You're telling me you don't know, Sam?
I
You
clearly
don't
not.
know? You know about Puffin's infinite fatigue loop with just 2 cards?
Well, I know about Cog in the Machine, and you can go ahead and is that what you're talking about? You just keep it in the
blue
deck.
and Cog in the Machine will both replace the Cog in the Machine in your hand with a blue and give you 2 action points with which to fire the pistol. And since you don't need the Cogs on that turn, you can freely tap one of them to put Cog in the Machine back at the bottom of your deck. And in addition to that, it's still tied for the best rate among Mechanologist weapons.
Fantastic.
Is Ellie's
but not in
explanation the reason that it's in the deck?
Thomas
Okay.
has already taken the boom grenade. Another 5
I guess that's
damage puts him to
reasonable.
29. Another 5 damage from there takes him to 24. As we are seeing a little bit of what Nathan wants to be doing as the boost cards hit the arena. We are seeing a Puffin deck here not as interested in something like perhaps
I imagine
the
this should be a
Conquerors
Puffin
of the
favorite
High
matchup
Seas,
because
more
you get
interested
to
in good
play out your hand, but then get value on defense with your galvanizes and like draw cards and shit. So you just like get value on both sides of the turn cycle in this matchup since you're always getting to block.
on-rate or over-rate attacks utilizing cards from card pools of old and some brand new toys alongside that very powerful hero ability and Parrot.
And Parrot. The other half of the hero ability.
Now Polycranka has to be an easy target for Thomas. Just go ahead and pick off with that Kunai of Retribution.
Poly should be
And of
untapped,
course,
right?
Once Poly is taken down and hit by the Kunai, that will count as a hit on the combat chain for Mask of Momentum. It is an ally just like the many others we may see over the course of the weekend. First here, though, we do reveal a blue off the top, so the Ravenous Rabble just coming in for 2. And that is not where you want to be in this Syndra deck. One of the reasons why those first Syndra decks all the way back in Memphis at the Hunted release weekend damn near ran like 3 or 0 blues.
The one in the finals of the Battle Hardened, Jacob Baugh, was on 3 blues. Yuki's deck that Brody piloted to first place at that calling ran 0.
2 damage going to be taken.
I was actually working on a Syndra deck for Nats for a little bit. I think she had legs for this event. I was working on a combo-oriented version of the deck where you were playing a switchboard between Lynx and Mom, and the idea was in the matchups that uh, I want to my opponent to stop punching me in the mouth, like an aggro mirror or something. I'm gonna play Mom, and by playing the Mom, it's going to extend the game, so that way I can guarantee my chip damage from my flick knives. And in the blocky matchups, I'm going to play Lynx because they're already blocking, so I don't need to do anything to get them to stop punching me in the mouth. They already want to block. And then that guarantees me my chip damage. So then, idea being that I guarantee 10 to 15 points of chip damage and then have a big combo turn. I either use Lynx to get my 6th card or Loyalty Beyond the Grave in the aggro mirrors to get a 6-card hand. And then I'm trying to have a turn where I go like Spreading Flames into the specialization, and then play Blood Runs Deep and have like a 35 damage turn on this turn. Just basically OTKing anyone after the chip damage. I think that deck had legs, but I didn't want to spend more time exploring it when I wasn't 100% sure if it was the pick for the event. I'll just play Azalea because Pot agreed. But then I ended up playing Prism anyways.
Down to 29.
When that rabble comes in for 2, you've got to wish you just toss that straight at the bird.
Yeah, now the kunai can come in. Let's see where he's going to target. Is going to be Kapali.
Makes a lot of sense.
Nathan a little bummed as the bird
Goodbye,
has
Polly.
to hit the arena. It's got to feel bad every time. You just hear a little poor little as the Polly goes ahead and falls away. Feathers flying as the rising resentment now represents a mask momentum. Chain 3. That flick knives will be activated for the kunai to get another damage across. Down to 28 goes Puffin, and now this chain link has hit, which means this big old lava burst comes in for 5.
I'm surprised you guys aren't playing the galvanized equipment.
But also
I think that's really good.
Card draw once again with the mask momentum. We're seeing why Syndra so highly represented. Even though Thomas was once again off an arsenal, he's trying to get his way back to one here.
Pretty cleanly covered up with 1 card and some armor.
So Nathan, he's got the life lead. He's given a couple cards, but he utilized that 1 per
That turn was not very impressive.
The poly crank
for getting a free kill on the poly, not getting a master draw is kind of sad.
Next turn. See, our players here going to go ahead and bring us down into the table
by putting on their microphones.
A couple cards left in the hand for Nathan. He's got that copper cog.
Gonna die at the start of the turn.
Play a copper cog.
Copper cog cranked.
Play a copper cog.
Another one.
Well, would you look at this? We're going to play both of them. We're just going to replace them immediately. What did we rip off the top for
Looks like
Nathan?
he drew a Cogworks Zeppelin, which can make pretty solid use of those cogs.
Got the 0 to 60 as well. So 0 to 60, we're going to boost. Let's see what's off the top. It's one of those golden sky wardens.
Oh, I'm still beat from the flight.
Or go again. God. I'm so sorry.
I ended up
sleeves are
getting on the
so
plane at like midnight.
Are you kidding me? Flesh and Blood, my dad is #1, Amelia 2024.
That is adorable.
I'm gonna cry.
Keep it together. Keep it together.
My heart is exploding. That is the sweetest thing I've ever seen. I'm not biased. I want either player to win, but that's amazing. Looks like that damage is going to be taken. Nathan's just going to arsenal the Zeppelin.
You mentioned Nathan not being here for a long time so much as a good time, but it looks like Thomas is embodying that a little bit more. He has not blocked half as much as Nathan has, and it's starting to show 10 life down despite being, presumably the more aggressive deck of these two, keeping
I'm waiting for the galvanized blocks to come out.
Yeah, here comes the Ignite coming in for 2, and you have to imagine Syndra needs to utilize the Mask of Momentum to start to be unfair in her own right.
This could be a Lynx matchup, to be honest.
Where Thomas has been kept off of that same phenomenon, and Thomas not establishing an arsenal, not giving himself the potential to go wide enough to push over the blocks that Nathan wants to present. He had a no block in his hand last turn in that copper cog. Thomas might have to go ahead and establish a little bit of a setup turn. Just get something in the arsenal, or if you're not gonna, maybe do a little bit of blocking to try to equalize things, because as things stand right now, Nathan is looking to be in a pretty dominant position.
Yeah, it's kind of one of the tough things with Syndra is that you are very effective at shredding their armor up with those Mask of Momentum triggers being threatened, but, I mean, Mechanologist just has so much for you to work through. There's 3 with that Tekla Foundry Heart, 1 on the boots, and 2 with the Cogworks Tinker Rings.
But this is a
I can also
big
see this
moment
not
here.
be
We see
a
tough old wrench hit the combat
royal
chain,
hat
which has
matchup.
a galvanized ability to turn
Doesn't seem
a
like the
copper
gold was
cog
that
into a
important
golden
to
cog, a little bit of
winning
an
this
upgrade
game.
here, but it only has 2 block. It's currently being blocked.
Very interestingly about this tough old wrench galvanized triggers, he chose to crank that golden cog, maybe signifying to us that he's going to do one of 2 things on this turn. Either block with another
That's
tough
unfortunate.
old wrench or Teeth of the Cog's effect, crank a second cog and draw a card, or maybe we see those Cogworks Tinkerings find their way onto the combat chain this turn and replace an entire card in Nathan's hand by cranking the second cog that comes down.
Now this is huge, however, because it was only a 2 block on the tough old wrench on the Mask of Momentum trigger.
Which card is in
We
the
see
board? Sorry.
Ancestral Harmony push over for 1, that draws a card, and then when the 1 damage is taken, finally the mask trigger. So we've said Thomas needs to do something to start to get a little unfair, and Nathan there with the 2 block on the 2 damage from the brand with Cinder Claw, paving the way for Thomas to do a little bit of drawing on this turn. 2 cards in the hand. After those triggers resolve, it's time for the Burning Blade Dance to come in and continue the party.
So 4 total. 20.
Burning Blade Dance here is going to go ahead in the reaction step. The Flick Knives comes through. So now Nathan down to 20.
This seems like it would have been a good
You can
matchup for
destroy
it.
both your daggers if this connects.
That would have been a sick block on
Oh,
the
yeah, I guess that wasn't even the Flick Knife.
lava
That was just
burst
the
earlier.
hit from the Burning
Yeah,
Blade Dance. And so now the Blaze Headlong just gets to come in for 4 as well. Now the damage is starting to pile up for Syndra. And it looks like that Throw Dagger might hang out in the arsenal on this next turn. Here come the Tinker Rings. That's going to go ahead and bring in the Golden Cog.
See what the draw is off this free card here. What does he turn this tough old wrench into? Another tough
old wrench. That's the thing about these old wrenches. They're tough. You try to throw one out, it just finds its way back into your hand.
Another card drawn on this turn, this Throw Dagger connecting for 1 and drawing a card into Thomas's hand. This Blaze Headlong with Go Again is going to be followed up by the card we were talking about. The reason those Snapdragon Scalers are in this deck. Snatch for 4, threatening a draw on hit.
I'm so surprised people weren't playing Snatch before.
Here comes the Syndra ability to bring back the daggers.
Perhaps so that
Card
he
is
can
so good in this
flick
deck.
on this Snatch, since he still hasn't Flick Knives this turn.
On hit draw with the Snatch, and now we see part of why the Snapdragon Scalers were brought
Didn't he flick?
into... Yeah, they're trying to clear the combat chain, but combat chain is still very much alive.
I thought he flicked on the burning.
The tough old chain with the tough old wrench, 1 still in the hand. We've got the cog in the machine plus the Tekla Foundry Heart. Armor officially shredded. Now the Flick Knives can be activated. 1 more damage, so Thomas Dabney did a fair amount of work on that turn. Took some cards out of the hand, ripped through the rest of the armor, and now after Nathan was sitting at 28 to start this turn, he's down to 16. Once again, Thomas ain't got no arsenal to work with, but maybe he's going to prove me wrong and prove that he don't need it.
I mean, it's a really good example of what you were talking about, right? That was the first time that Thomas actually got to draw off his Mask of Momentum this game, and that's when Syndra really starts to come into her own. Before she can find those, things can get a little bit awkward, but once she starts drawing cards, once she gets through her opponent's armor, things really start to pile up.
Nathan here going to draw a card, crank the Boom Grenade, crank the Copper Cog. There's the tough old wrench into the Plasma Pistol. And he finds an attack to try to threaten with this Boom Grenade. What's in the arsenal?
That Cogworks Zeppelin with 2 cogs to back it up. If this connects, not only will it trigger a Boom Grenade, it will give him the opportunity to tap one of his cogs to make another cog, functionally giving this Go Again, as he can choose to crank that cog.
Yeah, this could basically be a 2 for 6 in your blue slot, which is so impressive. We can see a no block in the hand there in the drop of Dragon Blood. Let's take a look at the rest of the hand. Looks like he's keeping it a little hidden from us. But I do believe it's a fair amount of 2 blocks as well in the hand, right? Cut deep, or not cut deep, what's
2 copies of Cut Through.
Cut
A Blood
Through.
Runs Deep that looks like it's going to block. And that drop of Dragon Blood. Looks like we're seeing 1 cog activated. You mentioned this being a 2 for 6, but he does have to leave 1 untapped so that he can resolve that hit trigger should he wish to get another action point.
So there we go, 2 damage over, and then the 4 from the boom grenade explodes. Once again, down to 12 goes Thomas. Here's the trigger to make the golden cog by tapping one of the copper cogs.
Bro, imagine having to hit to draw instead of blocking to draw.
That we started
OP.
this turn by loading up with the steam counter in the chamber. Looks like Thomas is going to take this down to 10, only 3 cards to work with.
This has always been one of my favorite traits of the Mechanologist class. That was 2 blues. He had 2 blues and he managed to push through 10 damage.
Absolutely, and the copper cog there showing why some players are even registering 10, 13, 15 copies of that card. It can just replace itself so easily, and the cog synergies are, you know, ginormous in this deck. And we're really seeing some beautiful interplay between boosting and cog generation, and that's one of the things people have been talking about with Puffin. It's nice when it works. Sometimes it's hard when you don't find your cog cards with the cog payoff cards, but Nathan, he's got enough boost to be putting up some real damage in this aggro matchup.
Is the player registering 15 copper cogs in the room with us right now? Is his name Sam O'Brien?
Very well may be. I ain't got 15 copper cogs, but I have it on good authority that some individuals very well may be. It's going to be the cut through coming in. Needs to use the flick knives to get the damage through to make this thing have go again. So that is why we are continuing on the turn. Nathan down to 11, but that drop of Dragon Blood is not playing nice whatsoever with either of these cards.
He is kind of an interesting line here. He can fealty this cut through to make it draconic so that he can play this drop of Dragon Blood, but it actually looks like he's neglected to do that on this turn.
You'd have to
just wanting to arsenal it.
You'd have to grab the resource off the blood splattered vest because it would cost you 1 because you'd have the 1 draconic link. We saw that. I watched both of our eyes just narrow as we saw the field. We were like, there is a way to do this, but Thomas is just going to go ahead and attempt to stay alive on this turn. He's put Nathan to 7. He's still got that armor he can work with if he wants to cash in.
I'll be right back, chat. Give me like 1 minute.
He says if he stays alive here, a drop of Dragon Blood might be the difference maker with his opponent all the way down to 7 to put him forward into the victor's column.
Nathan with 5 cards to work with, maybe 6 if he can trigger Puffin's hero ability on this turn. I think we might see that happen with another.
Nice thing too here is
the table. Maybe he has
Syndra doesn't really want to block. Her cards block for shit, so if he makes Syndra start blocking out here, the game's going to slip away real quick for her.
Or go again. Of the 2 players here, we are seeing the Mechanologist who has drawn significantly more cards than the hero with Mask of Momentum. That hero ability proving
And what a
so
meme Mask of
important.
Momentum is. Imagine having to hit to draw. What if I just block with a card and draw?
Just 1. It's a little, well, it's a little bit unfortunate. If he had another one, he could resolve that Cogworks Workshop and send a Palantir Aeronaut, threatening 3 activations of its ability.
Foundry Heart change that math, or no?
I don't think so. No, not at all. Since both the other cards in his hand are red, he'd have to pitch the Sky Skimmer, Foundry Heart, 2 floating, Cogworks Workshop, 1 floating. That does not...
That ain't get you there.
1 does not pay for a big old boat.
Thomas down to 6. Here comes the Sky Skimmer.
Cheapest boat you'll find in these parts is 2.
+1 or go again with this card. You can tap the cog. Still got those copper cogs. They're looking pretty impressive, honestly, with all the synergy. You don't have to. We haven't seen that many golden cogs created. It's the copper cogs, and even though they might not get you as much at the bank, they are proving to be quite nice in the matchup. As we're seeing the equipment have to be pushed in here for Thomas. It's gonna get the go again with the copper cog being tapped.
These Sky Skimmer Cloud Skiff cards represent such a nasty fork where as you get particularly low, you can end up in these positions where you just have to give 2 cards to it. Cogworks Dovetail as well, speaking of, first time we've seen that card this game, but it represents the same thing, where when you have the choice of +1 or
Getting the mask
go
off the
again,
board is huge.
and you make your choice after your opponent declares blocks, it puts you in this really powerful position of decision-making agency where you just have to choose. I have to give extra cards here because they can just +1 this. Go again doesn't matter if my opponent's dead.
And now here comes the Tecloplasma pistol. Here's a way to get
That's pretty true.
again
People
once
do
per
die when they're
game
killed.
with a heavy industry gear shift. It's going to go ahead and kick off into a little bit of a higher speed. 2 damage that now Thomas has to think about, and then we know what the follow-up is going to be.
Yeah, it's going to be that Palantir Aeronaut only representing 7, but 7 is plenty when your goal is to shred Syndra's cards up.
That means
it's going to demand, too.
Yeah, and you can put the Snapdragons. It does have 0 block, but then you got to think about the 7 damage that is being threatened on this turn. Thomas really wants to utilize that drop of Dragon's Blood in the arsenal.
Yeah, I probably should have blocked earlier, so that way
He's going to have to keep some
you don't have to deal with us.
Still has the fealty.
Omega punish for not blocking.
Unfortunate that the generic in his hand is the card that blocks the worst. You really want to keep those draconic cards so that he can fire off this drop of Dragon Blood.
And I think, that last turn it was just the 2 cut-throughs, right? So that fealty actually it shouldn't be in the arena. I'm not sure it's going to matter on this next turn. I think he's got the draconic cards he needs. But with the +1, Thomas here just didn't realize that card had the additional clause.
Oh, he didn't even have 3 to dual modes anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Utilizes a little bit of trickery and a little bit of the fact that these players have not had as much time to face against these cards as perhaps some of the other matchups out there in the field. And we're seeing maybe even why Nathan made the pivot from tried and true Azalea to the brand
That card is so fucked up.
Hightail. What a match.
That's some pirated
Good game.
ingenuity for you.
Come on now. Yeah,
GG's.
literally, we saw one player have mask momentum, brand new hero, a brand new ranger, and this version features the new harpoon. People are getting interesting.
Also pretty interesting, Shifting Tides
Shifting
hitting the table.
Tides.
That's
Huh?
I don't think I've seen that in any Marlin
Chat.
deck so far, but
Huh?
it makes so much sense. It can rip you
Question
some
mark?
free resources off the top of your deck, and it's fantastic in these turn 0 scenarios where you're going first, and you just get to slap this down on the table at basically no cost to yourself. Perhaps, I think Marlin has this quality to her where once you get the cannon rolling, it's really hard for your opponent to get out from under your thumb, and Shifting Tides is so fantastic at helping you get that churning, and it's also fantastic with the new high tide mechanic, and we see 2 high tide cards in Steven's hand off the rip.
Yeah, it's mostly just for the aura plan. You basically just shave all the reds from the deck. I can do a deck profile or like a Patreon article on it soon.
Also want to do in these Verdance decks, just play a big disruptive attack. Command and Conquer hits the combat chain, and for all of us Ranger players out there, it's never the card we're happy to see on the combat chain. Now Steven's got to think about this one, as he's going to go ahead and line up at least the 1 block, maybe just the 1.
Interestingly enough, we've been talking about people reading cards for the first time this weekend.
Hold on.
Ah!
Griffin and
No! Not the double boat!
Say, what is
no!
But we're seeing 2
Oh! Wait, is that a deep blue? Wait, what is going on?
Of the chain, but you'd probably be happier to be in Griffin.
Is it because 3 of a kind?
Huh? Hit the graveyard and the 3 of a kind reveal.
Oh my god, and pitch 3 of a kind? No!
And just gonna go ahead.
Oh my god!
1 resource.
This game's an abortion.
I want to see your Shifting Tides do for you. Not only is it just a resource for yourself, you've put 3.
I've taken so much psychic damage in such a short amount of time. Oh god.
Marlin needs to draw cards to load arrows, and 3 of a kind lets you do just that.
Having Helix going to be
Wait, we're
revealed.
cross wrap? Bro, what am I watching? What is the setup?
Potentially the
huh?
Of choice.
Bro's cooking so hard.
Pathing Helix, but the Null Rune boots are in the feet slot for Steven, so not able to give this go again with something like that brand new Sealay Sarong.
Yeah, that's a very real cost to having to play against heroes that deal arcane damage sometimes when you have to replace integral equipment to your game plan with the ability to interact with arcane damage. It can have a very real cost, and not having your Sealay Sarong is a really good example of that.
What
He
is the
couldn't
last
let
card
this
in
pattern of
hand?
Helix go again. I mean,
How is
even
this?
if he could, he
What?
wouldn't be able to get a card into his
What?
arsenal without playing out that call in the big guns.
Is the last card a Rain
There's
Razors
another
or
new
a
card,
2-block?
the Burn Bear. Gonna go ahead and block, plus the sink below. Let's see what's filtered out. I think it might be another D-React Shelter from the Storm, headed to the bottom. It's gonna go ahead and, I think, grab the blue version of Cadaverous Tilling, not sure.
All right, chat, pay attention to what the arsenal was. We need to see if that was a 3-block.
Also, Ring of Roses in Griffin's hand, a pretty important card to a lot of these Verdant stacks to establish in these grindier matchups, and I think we are. Wow, we're gonna see Ring of Roses just hit the table and 2 reds pitched into Waning Moon.
Yeah, Cadaverous Tilling there. Actually, the red variety, much more common in these Verdance lists, given the big ol' stats and the decomposition that it offers. But both these cards have to be pitched into the Waning Mood, but now that the Ring of Roses is here, it's likely going to stick around for the remainder of this game, and that does some major, major work in any game of Classic Constructed.
And talking about what helmet people are choosing to run, that Skullbone Crosswrap doing a double duty here as it provides Arcane Barrier 1, a line of text I frequently forget is on that piece of equipment, allowing you to
2-block,
cover up
okay.
that Waning Moon activation with a card.
Gonna go ahead and opt. Looks like it's gonna go ahead and opt that card to the bottom. See 3 blues still in the hand and a call on the big guns.
Blue those cards may be, he does have a blue fin.
Why did we block that Command and Conquer? Our arsenal sucked ass. We gave 2 ships to protect a blue pathing helix? Surely that was not the play. No universe, that's the play. Come on.
Harpoon, which in conjunction with Hammerhead, the Harpoon Cannon, is functionally, I mean, talk about Bravo. We were just talking about Bravo. This is a Thunderquake. He's using 2 blues to send 8 base power in conjunction with the Cannon and the Harpoon, and thanks to calling the big guns, this is 11 overpower on hit. I'm going to look at your hand, make you discard a blue, I'm going to get a gold for the trouble, and my gold-baited hook is going to make me a gold.
That seems pretty good for Steven here. 11 overpower, and we see why the gold-baited hook is brought to the table as well. The Bluefin Harpoon. You have to imagine these Verdance decks are filled with blues. And the hand for Griffin, he's got a number of them. There is a block card, so that's a way to get around overpower.
5,
but it's only
6, 7, 8, 9,
small
10, 11.
pithy
We
hit
could
when
stop
compared to
this.
the amount of damage that is
We
being
could
threatened
block
on the
this and get
combat
the
chain.
hook off the board
This
immediately.
is the start of that Marlin engine I was talking about. One of the most powerful things this hero does a lot of the time is
I don't hate
one
this.
meaningful harpoon attack.
Whatever, I'm just
over
gonna get your
the
hook off the
start. You know,
board.
she really puts you, as I like to say, puts you in the blender. She puts you in a position where she just keeps sending a harpoon every single turn between having so many of them in her blue base, as well as having access to Codex of Frailty. It's very possible for her to
No, I don't. I also don't play Vestige into Brute. I play the other chest. I think I have a matchup game plan thing written on my Patreon. Let me take a look. I don't think I do.
keep looping the
I don't know. My game plan into the matchup is just to the short version, because it is too deep of a matchup game plan for me to just like willy-nilly just talk about on stream. It is essentially to out-tempo them with a couple specific cards in my deck and use some specific tools that I have to distract them. Use my auras to distract them to buy space, and then try to connect a couple times, like with Dreamweaver Erudition plus Wrath or something like that. Just make sure I connect a few times, and make sure the couple times that I do connect, I convert it into a lot of value, and just try to snowball off of that. And try to catch them on some bad hands, or hands that can't profitably clear.
These harpoons, and I think Griffin understands that that's such an integral part of Marlin's game plan, shoving so much armor both to shut down this harpoon's hit trigger and to get that gold-baited hook off the table.
Yeah, that hook seemed a little aggressive.
With it.
Yeah, I think that is a huge part of the equation here for Griffin, and you see why he was willing to go ahead and commit all of that armor and the block card and the felling of the crown. It's the gold-baited hook. It's the engine that Steven would be able to put together, and let's see if Griffin can go ahead and parlay that potential advantage into a victory here. The Emeritus Scolding, the use of the action point, it's going to be off an Arsenal. It's just going to be coming in for 2 damage. But AB2 with the drill shot keeps both of these heroes at pretty healthy life totals, 40 to 41, as the Ponder is going to go ahead and refresh the Arsenal after the mental block.
Bit of an awkward thing I was talking about with Marlin, though, is that sometimes you have a really hard time getting cards into your arsenal, and Steven's hand is just completely a brick. He can't do anything. He's holding 2 King Harpoons, King Kraken and King Shark, and a blue. He had no game actions on that turn. He had to opt to just pass back to Verdant.
Yeah, I don't know about this
Marlin
list.
especially in the second round of the U.S. National
I almost just want to skip this game. This doesn't seem that worth watching. We'll watch another turn or two, but if this continues, I think I'm just going to skip this game.
Draw card, load, and you see, even going back a turn cycle ago, why Griffin utilized
silly.
all of that armor and those defensive pieces and the felling of the crown to stop that engine, because a gold and the 2 gold that Steven would have had would have made that turn significantly more threatening. E-Strike going to go ahead and buy a card for block, get some damage over the top, and now the Burn Bear out of the arsenal. Big old 2-card 6, but it's arcane damage. It's a little harder to block. No AB. Steven down to 32.
This is about as punishing as you can possibly get. You know, when you have to, you're just forced to light cards on fire by virtue of passing there. You're really hoping your opponent, especially these wizards that sometimes struggle with action points, can't muster so much go again. But Griffin had E-Strike into Burn Bear, a pretty brutal 11 damage offering while still having the opportunity to keep a card in arsenal. But this is what you want to see as Marlin. This is another bite at the apple in terms of getting that harpoon loop going. Not only does he have a King Shark harpoon waiting in the hand, he's getting another 10 overpower on the combat chain here. And the story is different from last time. Griffin does not have a gigantic fridge to shove onto the chain here. He has 1 armor block with that bark skin of the Millennium Tree, and even with a couple defense reactions in the hand, I'm not sure he can cleanly cover this.
He's got the Rootbound Carapace. The question is, does he have the requisite amount of Earth cards to start the Decomposed chain? Declare no blocks.
There's red Rootbound Carapace. I think this is still going to connect for 2, Sam.
That's going to be 2 Earth cards and the Burn Bear. Those head to the banish.
But is there a red in the hand?
Oh, another one in Arsenal.
Ooh. No Decompose there, and the Sink Below covers it up completely.
That's
just
tough.
A little bit of a giggle there from Steven. He's having a little bit of trouble actually getting these offensive threats through without the gold. The loading gets a lot more difficult with Hammerhead. 2-card 7 here for Griffin. Roots of the Forest comes on down.
Very interesting thing in Steven's hand there. That is a copy of Burdens of the Past. One of my favorite blue block 3s from Outsiders. This card, I mean, I was really considering this card last metagame when so many decks were playing so many defense reactions to have the opportunity
interesting card to see here.
Counteract Aurora. I mean, how do you beat 4 go again every turn with 4 defense on a single card? And Burdens of the Past is a really solid answer to that, especially against these Earth heroes who care so much about having so many defense reactions. This card straight up tells your opponent, no Rootbound Carapaces this turn, no Sink Belows this turn, because they're already in your graveyard. And a lot of these Earth decks do run 10 defense reactions. Sometimes Burden of the Past in this matchup may actually draw a card.
7 damage. Steven has to think about. He's willing to risk it. He's going to take the 7. Down to 25 he goes. Playing 42, Griffin still healthier than when we started. This life gain deck happy to go ahead and let Steven just take the licks as he just gets higher and higher and climbs up that Millennium Tree. Once again, starting the turn with the opt. I think Steven has put a card at the bottom every single time. Clearly the top of the deck, not too nice to our Marlin player.
Maybe that can be rewritten. He's holding on to Big Game Trophy Shot, a card that will give him access to the top of his deck one more time. We may not see it paid for here, though, with this Burdens of the Past hitting the table, saying none of those pesky defense reactions, though Griffin doesn't have any in his hand, so this is effectively a zero-value card hitting the table. Not that Steven knows that. But, truly, for the first time, surely, we will see this Harpoon find the target of its quarry. Sure.
Here comes the King Kraken Harpoon. It's extended art. You can see the marvel there. So Steven clearly loves this new hero. Block the 3. Any reactions? The mental block stops an additional 2, makes the ponder. So 5 damage over, and finally Steven connects
Mental
with the
block's
Harpoon.
not as good anymore now that the Crown of
This is such an
Providence is gone.
evocative card to me. Every time I see King Kraken Harpoon played, yeah, whiffing, painful. Every time I see one of these harpoons played, the first thing that comes to mind.
This game is a little suspicious. I'm gonna skip forward a bit. Yeah, it doesn't look like we're missing out on much.
Presenting Victor Goldmane and the Goldmane estate. It's the
very much going to lose every clash, and Victor gets a whole bunch of free value. But this game does go fairly long, and then Valent Dynamos comes in, and that incremental turn-by-turn value, especially compared, tacked on to Fang's ability to go pitchless at a certain point in the game, is also the sort of game plan that he wants to enact. So both sides going to be having a whole bunch of value. I cannot wait to see how this plays out.
Victor getting the gold train rolling nice and early on the back of that Crown of Dominion, as well as a visit the Goldmane estate. And then combining with the Norm Aegis means the mites are already flowing. And I love checking in on Ayali's equipment suite. I feel like Ayali always has something unique to bring to the table. Tech plating is the chess piece here for Victor this go around.
Yeah, and have to point out Gauntlets of Iron Will as well. Very, very strong in this matchup in particular because of the number of attack reactions that Warriors want to play. That card effectively blocks 5 total, 3 the first time and 2 the second time. Alongside Quick Dodge Flexes, Chris Yali is quite set up to potentially get around Fang's tricksiness, because Fang, unlike the other Warriors, has a lot more variability in how much damage the daggers come in for. It can be a lot more difficult to predict how big the dagger's going to get to prevent the mark from triggering and giving him an extra fealty. Cards like Quick Dodge Flexes, cards like Gauntlets of Iron Will could potentially help you mitigate some of that.
We are clashing immediately, Ponkich, and unfortunately for Ayali, reveals the Trounce. Not many misses in the deck.
And sending that Trounce to the bottom, and this time does win the clash. But Trounce, that's a card you want to resolve, like, block with early, so managed to still get the gold of this test of strength.
Whatever, we have the Trounce later in the game.
That Andrew
and now we can make sure that he pitches cards underneath it that I'll reveal to Clash.
Go ahead, get go again here, pick up a card, another dagger coming in. For this Fang, it is all about the fealty. How quickly can we get this fealty online?
And we spoke about the tricksiness. Look at that. That's a block 4 on a 1 damage dagger, Brian.
Yeah.
And now there's another one coming in. Chris Yali is marked. If this hits, Andrew will go up to 2 fealties. Be very, very close to that breakpoint of 3 fealties that he need. And both players know that he drew a long Whisker loyalty thanks to the test of strength.
Chris presenting 6 block on this particular chain link means he's keeping 2 cards behind, 1 in arsenal. With those 3 mites, he'll look to pair up for something big on his next turn. Is just going to long Whisker loyalty here.
You have to. Yeah, he hasn't played a Draconic card yet. The fealties would be lost if he didn't, so he was forced to. So Chris, knowing that he drew the long Whisker loyalty, was like, cool, I'm just going to block this out. Keep my mark on me, but keep you on the small number of fealties.
Smorking time.
I make use of my 3 mites.
Now these mites will pop. Let's see how big the offering is from Ayali here.
3 mites and a Seismic Surge as well.
Bigger resource to make another Seismic Surge for next turn.
Refreshes the Surge. And there you see our first look at Riches.
For Command and Conquer, which will be attacking for...
How about Command and Conquer for 9 on the back of Riches of Trouble Donnie?
But does he have a pummel and drop? Drew blue
as well.
And CNC for 9, not what Andrew wants to see, as he's holding 2 defense reactions in that hand, Brian.
That's tough.
Perhaps might see a very early Crown of Providence block here.
If it's active this turn, I'll
That's a big CNC, Pankaj.
CNC for 9, very, very scary. Still holding 2 cards as well. Pummel definitely being represented over here.
We'll see how scared Andrew wants to be here.
Here's 9.
Okay. Looks like he's just giving armor, wants to protect the arsenal, which I believe is an Oath of Loyalty. Very, very strong card.
No.
Especially to start the chain with when your opponent is marked as well. 0 for 4 to start. Also in Fang, getting the first Draconic Link on a non-dagger is incredibly important because of the number of cards you have that care about having a second Draconic Chain Link, which means your first dagger that you send after the Oath of Loyalty will already be your second Draconic Chain Link, something Fang really, really likes. Not in this hand, though, I have to say. A Smoke Out and a Sink Willow, not quite it.
Not my favorite hand as a Fang player. But we'll see if Andrew can put something together here. Oath of Loyalty kicks things off here. Test of strength from Ayali again. This one goes smoother, an easy win.
And a perfect follow to stop the Oath of Loyalty, really stuffing Andrew's field generation, and the full armor suite on Chris's side still available.
Yellow Sink Below pitched here from Andrew. That's going to fire up that Obsidian Firebase. Still 1 card in hand for Andrew.
And this is the tricksiness of Fang. Once again, how are you going to block this up? We saw Chris last time block with two cards, block 6 on this. This time a Draconic card has been played already, though. So if he overblocks, Andrew can say, okay, pass. And if he doesn't, he gets a fealty. And thanks to Grains of Bloodspill, can actually get an extra resource for the following turn as well, which is very, very important. Before you are online.
And those cast homes are going to be huge.
When you get to move resources over, that's how you can sort of effectively go pitchless turn to turn. So Grains of Bloodspill, very, very effective card in Fang lists.
Ayali, though, just free rolling on these clashes against the Warrior. Trounce doing its thing, winning clashes left and right, defending very well on this Obsidian
Block
Fire
6 tier 1.
Ayali set up again with just kind of a rainbow assortment of resources that kick off his turn, and is just drawing
This Spinal's
going to
go crazy
every single turn.
So no extra draw there from the Trounce because he already drew from the Test of Strength, which is one of the downsides of Victor sometimes. When you draw multiple Clash cards in the same hand, Victor only lets you draw from the gold once a turn. But you're forced to use both of them anyway because you can't arsenal a block card. So it ends up being a little bit like, oh, the Trounce block 3 and give him a Vigor and an extra gold, I suppose, and like a Might, but it's not exactly where you want to be. You want these Clash cards to be a little bit more spaced out.
I think Ayali's going to be fine, honestly. Stacking gold this high, the next visit to the gold main estate will certainly be laden with riches for Ayali. And he's just drawing extra cards every turn. He feels very Unguardian-like right now in the way he's playing this game.
The value train definitely on Chris Ayali's side right now, especially with Andrew holding a whole bunch of 2 blocks right now. Very not Warrior-esque as well. Warrior is typically known to have a whole bunch of 3 blocks. Andrew having 2 blocks. Victor, Guardians known to be a little slower, but Chris Ayali with the aggressive train right out the gate.
And Andrew just does not want to take that on hit here, doesn't want to take the damage. Needs to keep that fealty along. I will say that this early mark is actually paying huge dividends for Andrew. It would be so easy for Chris Ayali to just ignore everything that's going on the other side. But that early mark is making things a little bit awkward.
And 2 4 blocks already down for Chris Ayali. We've seen 2 tests of strength already, eventually run out. And these 0 for 4 Draconic attacks, they do so much more than just threaten a breakpoint for the mark. It ensures that Andrew has played a Draconic card this turn to keep his fealties around on small hands, which when the opponent's sending Spinal Crushes at you, CNCs at you, are very, very important.
Yeah, it feels like this early game has been rough for Andrew, but also fine. Like, I don't think things are getting out of control by any means. And despite Ayali's explosive start, Andrew just slow and steady, gonna look for some ways to build up fealty. Here's yet another Command and Conquer. This one, mercifully, just for 6.
Yeah, eventually Victor will just have a little bit of middling turn. Like, we saw him block 2 cards on a 1-card play from Andrew, and then just send him with 2 for 6. Chris's hand on that turn cycle, Brian, converted for 10. He blocked 4 and then sent 6. Which is, you know, we spoke about how earlier on he was setting Spinals for 10 and CNCs for 9, and sometimes Victor's just going to run off a little bit of gas, and then Andrew can capitalize on that and come back and just show the resiliency of Warrior, especially when you're playing cards like Valiant Dynamo. And eventually you're going to 3 fealty for the Drukai over here when your opponent's mark. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, up to 2 fealty now, and it's just one more unconditional generator that Andrew needs, and he will be online and popping off. And I think he just drew it on this cycle, Pankaj.
He's got a pledge fealty in the hand. He's hiding it from us, but we caught a glimpse. He does have the 3rd fealty online.
That could bode well for Fang. Of course, we'll still have to dodge the disruption of Ayali, which he has found with regularity thus far. Rouse the Ancients pitched here, so showing a little bit of an aggressive side. But as I mentioned, Ponkage, we knew the next visit to the gold main estate would be a big one. Loading up with might here.
So strong.
When you see a Guardian opponent just block with armor and hold full 5 cards, you have to be shaking your boots a little bit. And 7 mites created for the following turn. Chris is still 2 floating, 3 cards in hand.
Plenty to do on this turn as well. And gold actually going to make things even worse, potentially, over on the side of Andrew. We'll try and sneak a peek here. Has the Rouse as well. Is loaded up with blues. We'll see if maybe there's some more gold in the future of this turn. But starting point is kick off that Rouse here. Coming in for a nice 7. Go again is the first offer here.
And this is so scary for Andrew. 7 damage. You don't really want to eat this to the face, but you also don't know what's coming up. It could be a Spinal. It could be a CNC or something that you might need to save your blocks for. So how's he going to navigate this? He does have the line where he can block with everything else and just play Pledge Fealty on his turn to go to 3 fealties and keep the existing fealties around.
Seems
does
fine.
have that line, but then you're effectively passing into 7 mites. And so you don't know whether that's actually going to let you come out ahead anyway.
It's not like you're doing anything else with the Pledge Fealty. All the Pledge Fealty does is make a fealty.
Good news is that this is at least vanilla damage in this case, so maybe this is...
Plus you can play the Pledge and then still push a dagger for free.
He's going to use his chance to go ahead and refresh the hand with the Sink Below, picks up a new card.
Picks up a 3 block from a Long Whisker Loyalty. He's holding a Smoke Out in his arsenal, really wants to get the free mark from that, which you can't right now because opponent's already marked and also wasn't sending a red card on the first chain link.
He does have the red in Arsenal as well, so Debilitate is going to be the thing that rounds out this turn. Maybe set up with a bit of a weaker Arsenal for the next go-around, just having a blue to stick in there, but that's okay when you have those 7 mites ready to go.
Have to wonder whether Andrew would actually just use the Smoke Out here. You don't get the extra mark, but you get to at least avoid the crush.
Debilitate's the -2, right? Oh, it's on the screen. Yeah.
It is possible that Andrew just has a hand that can sidestep well, but it does look like he likes his blocks. Is going to go ahead and drop the
Bro, just block it.
Because speaking of...
Why are we giving armor? Just play the Pledge.
He's going to hunt the Ends of Wraith in his hand right now, and the opponent is marked. I mean, a 0 for 4 go again. And we've seen him do that the past 3 turns. We've just seen him go...
Maybe he sunk the Pledge?
Headlong, and he's going to start with Hunt the Ends of Wraith. He's really valuing these 0 for 4 go agains very, very highly.
Yeah, and that's going to get much better for him when that 3rd fealty comes online. And we are very close to that point now, Ponkage, of the Fang Gang showing the power ceiling of this hero.
I love the little bit of a fork over here because this is threatening the 3rd fealty. So Chris might be tempted to think, okay, if I block this out, he doesn't go to 3 fealties, but he's going to Pledge Fealty anyway. So you can actually just punish Chris for that if Chris decides to overblock.
Chris again with a heavy blue hand, but I'm not sure how much that matters, Ponkage. With all that gold rolled up, Chris can just go ahead and reset this hand basically anytime he wants.
And he has found the pummel as well. He coupled very well with the 7 mites that he has.
Small win here for Andrew, I think, getting the 4 block on this hunt when he knows he's going to complete very shortly. Sink Below the reveal here. Ooh. That could play well against that pummel. I think Chris Ayala is going to have to consider that for the next turn cycle.
I love the added dimension that these clash cards bring to the table. The knowledge of the top of the deck for both players can end up being very, very just critical, and you can actually leverage that depending on your hand. Now, Chris knows what he's going to draw off the gold, for example. Andrew knows he's going to have a bit more defenses on the following turn in the form of the Sink Below.
Fang Gang has arrived. 3 fealty at the ready for Fang, proving his loyalty to the Emperor, ready to hunt down his killers to the Ends of Wraith. Kicks things off with an Obsidian Fire Vein.
And we're finally going to see the Valiant Dynamos refresh. Haven't seen it so far. Turn 5 is when we finally see the counter come off. But now, 3 fealties, Andrew from now on can just keep 1 card and just drown Chris Ayala in value unless... So Chris needs to... But pressure's on Chris right now very much. He needs to be a little bit the aggressor because the longer this game goes, Andrew's value is more constant, whereas Chris a little bit more bursty in the form of those clashes, and you kind of need the burst to overcome the constant value to come out ahead.
It feels so funny to say that, Ponkage, given how these early turns have gone, and 7 mites sitting out there in the arena ready to blow up Andrew's next turn. But I think things have gone very well for Andrew thus far.
And now 5 fealties, has enough fealties to start even using, even if he draws non-draconic cards, to just keep the remaining ones around.
This feels like the big turn to me, Ponkage. If Ayala puts together something massive here, then I think he has retained parity, basically. But he needs a big turn here, otherwise this game is in danger of getting out of control.
Also have to point out, both players using the armor fairly aggressively, not something you see very much at higher levels of play. And normally, you know, players are a lot more conservative with the armor usage, but both players are recognizing they need to play to their game stays. Andrew using it to protect the fealties, make sure he can play Draconic cards, and Chris Yali using it to mount offense. This disable, though, no crush effect right now.
Yeah, no arsenal for Andrew. What do you make of the decision, Punkage, to prioritize keeping that gold around rather than trying to refresh and look for a red here?
Well, it's 2 floating.
Yeah.
I think that is very, very telegraphed. Even Andrew's side, you're like, oh, opponent didn't pop a gold, has 2 floating, sending a crush card that doesn't have an on hit.
That's blue.
Yeah. Yeah, it's blue as well. Probably a pummel coming in.
Yeah, Andrew not surprised by this pummel, I would say, but still attacking for 18 on this turn is Chris Ayali.
With an on-hit discard as well.
Seems pretty good.
Discard a card for pommel.
All the way down, looks like discarding the Blaze Headlong, the Draconic card. Has found a Save a Bloodshed. Opponent isn't marked though. Probably wants to mark Chris Yali before he resolves that card. Might be seeing that card hit the arsenal at this point.
Here is the Obsidian Fire Vein. I think player's a little late on updating life totals here. I'm sure they will get that cleaned up for us shortly.
Now, once Fang is online, this value train just feels so overbearing sometimes.
Yeah, and your decisions get so hard too.
Exactly. Like, is he going to is this the one that's going to go tall, or is this going to be sidestepped, and the next one's the one that's actually going to go tall? Also, Hunt's End is a card you have to start thinking about now as well, now that 3 fealties are up.
Very true, Punkage. Good call out. And there you have it. The Hunt's End shows up. Offers a bit of damage again. Yeah, the numbers are just going to be very good for Fang from this point forward.
So this is 6 into 1 with a Dynamo's Refresh. That's 8 points of value from 1 card. Once you're online with 3 fealty, this is sort of value.
Oh, finally done class sorting the rares.
With the Goldman Estates and repeated clashes, you will drown in value, which is funny to say when you're the Guardian player.
I think that's a big reason why Ali feels those golds are just a premium
I think
resource.
the plan is finish watching this game and then I'm going to end stream. Probably stream some more tomorrow. Want to finish watching all the coverage. Maybe do like a few days of streaming the coverage.
Turns back to Ayali here. We see a
and then
so
I gotta start working on Gravy Bones, huh?
Gamble on the gold.
Start learning how to play him.
I think you have to. I mean, once again, he used 2 cards to block over there.
All right, what do we got for allies here?
Like, isn't doing too much with his hand. Doesn't need to find something.
Just gonna go with the Miller's Grindstone though. Coming in.
I guess I should just sort all of this and then figure out what I'm missing.
No pummel being represented either. Andrew says, yeah, have my blue. It's redundant anyway. Everything I do is pitchless from now on, and Dynamo helps just block out that breakpoint very easily. Normally, you think of Guardians as the ones with the very powerful weapons that can grind opponents out, especially something like Miller's Grindstone. But when you're against Valen Dynamos and a deck that has a whole bunch of blue 3 blocks, suddenly the weapon doesn't look very good anymore.
Ali is clashing once more, does win. Picks up the Vigor. Searing Gaze the play here for Andrew. We saw Hunt's End on the top of the deck as well, so we'll keep track of that for the next turn cycle.
And now Chris Yali is marked. Oh, wait, no, that was the first Draconic Chainlink. Nope, not marked yet. But Andrew really wants to try and mark Chris on this turn to follow up with a Saber Bloodshed Hunt's End on the following turn. Because we know Saber Bloodshed is an arsenal, Hunt's End on the top of the deck.
Would be a powerful spot to be in. Let's see if he can complete the mark on this turn cycle.
So he is holding Blistering Blade and Scar Tissue. Elected to hold Blistering Blade for the second link since he already has a mark on hit with a Scar Tissue. So use the Searing Gaze on the first chain link instead.
How big does Ali want to block here?
How are you supposed to predict this? That's the thing about Fang. Because it could very well be even just a go again attack react into for the Jukai for example. So how big can you actually realistically block?
Yeah, and Ali just reaches for the Gauntlets of Iron Will, and Andrew Wilborn steps up with double reaction here. Blistering Blade and the Scar Tissue. Gonna pump up to 7 here, and it's gonna do its thing and hit Chris Ayali.
And Victor, not known for defense reactions. When you're against a warrior with no defense reactions, the game gets a little bit easier for the warrior side.
It's hard on the Guardian side, though, and I think Ayali, we talked about those explosive first turns, but I think Andrew has weathered the storm and is in a very strong position in this match right now.
Especially with Saber Bloodshed and Arsenal when your opponent's marked. And he has a Hunt's End in hand.
This is just damage, and if I'm in Andrew's seat, I say I'm the driver right now. I can take this damage happily, but it doesn't matter. Andrew also has the reaction here, so gonna get a decent block off on this Macho Grande. Only taking 3, falling down to 16. Life total's finally updated here, so is at a somewhat precarious life total, I would say.
12 life deficit, but now is going to his turn. 4 cards.
Power turn,
effectively.
too.
Yeah, with a power turn as well.
Hunt's End.
Opponent's marked.
Born Vengeance.
Oh,
Follows up with the
Do you
Sworn
know
Vengeance
what
as well.
this
Yeah,
does?
yeah, I
He
know every card in
said.
the game, no problem.
yep. So,
Lol.
6-5 in right now coming in for 8. Both players know about the existence of the Hunt's End, but Andrew has another card as well. So how much are you actually going to block this? Remember, Hunt's End is going to effectively give the Obsidian 5 in +5.
Yeah, face up 13 looking at here, but there's a yellow scar tissue as well that can push us up to 15, or just wait around for the next chain link, both options. So we'll see how hard Ayali wants to go on this turn.
And
Also, the big question is, what's the offensive output for Ayali? Some of these blocks are probably going to be free. You don't expect Victor to use a 5-card hand all that well, although I think that has changed a bit with this build. You know, we see plenty of Rouse, plenty of Enlightened Strike, so there are some possible 5-card hands that you can play.
And with gold as well, you can sort of, in a sense, in a pinch, try and convert a bigger hand as well. Staunch Response, we spoke about how not many defense reactions, but Staunch Response is one of them. Although typically one you want to see with 2 blues, not just 1 in that hand.
I think that's
Slight
a
awkward.
really nice pickup in this spot if there were just more blues. So
Well,
Ayali's going to trounce here.
It could draw a blue.
Yeah, reveals the wallop and is going to go ahead and bottom this one. Next card, Blue Thunderquake.
Draws a blue. Now the
Yeah.
Staunch Response, you can turn it on fully online.
Very clean from Ayali, and that's going to allow him to power up the Staunch Response if he wants and have a full block. Let's see what Andrew puts into this on the front side. Hunt's End comes down.
Yep, going for 13, and then now Staunch Response. That blue off the top for Chris Iali. Absolutely needed that.
Play a scar tissue to put it to.
But here
Yeah.
is that scar tissue pushing us up to 15 now on this dagger attack.
And that's the thing. All the
Can't even find the number, it's too big.
the agency's just on the warrior side. It's like, sure, you have some defense reactions, Chris. Do you like? You don't really like sinks and fates or root-bound characters.
It was
You're not
surprising
Florian.
to see the Staunch, honestly.
It's just, do you have even more? And he's holding on an E-Strike. That's the worst 1-card hand in the game, pretty much. You
Yep,
can't do
that's
anything
not
on
gonna do
offense.
a lot. Does have double vigor, I believe, on this turn.
So good gold. Yep.
Yep.
Take 2.
Yeah, and Ali is just going to take 2 here, falls to 26.
I don't think I've ever seen someone go double vigor crack gold E-strike.
And
Fealty Rich. Second dagger comes through with an unknown card in Andrew's hand.
we spoke about the life deficit, Brian. Here's Andrew still with a life deficit, but now Chris has no cards in hand.
We're going to see Fealty used just to buff up this scar tissue. Andrew is now completely Fealty Rich, just piled out there in the arena. But 4 more damage represented. Valiant Dynamos refresh. Again, just look at these numbers. When Fang is online, the numbers are basically unparalleled in Flesh and Blood.
One of the reasons why Fang is popular right now is because the other big bad of the format is Florian. And Fang actually quite good against Florian for this exact same reason. Florian sometimes struggles to output enough pressure to stop Fang from getting online. And once Fang is online, sure, your Florian might be online, but Fang's numbers are just better than your Grasp for 2 rune
Look at
shots.
Ali has Enlightened Strike in arsenal and 2 in hand. Mercifully is able to bottom 1 here. Just going to come in for 8 on the back of that might and arsenal the other Enlightened Strike. So not so bad. He kind of found a way out, but thankfully that gold was at the ready for him on this turn cycle and had those 2 resources from the Vigors.
The gold of the Vigor is very, very important for him to be able to resolve those Alliance Strikes, and yet another Saver Bloodshed coming up from Andrew.
Nightmare for Ayali. You don't want to see that card on back-to-back turns when you're dying to just reclaim some tempo.
And this goes back to the previous
All
turn
that being
cycle,
said,
Brian.
he's
He
still
could have
really
arsenaled
ahead on
that scar
life.
tissue, but he
And he hasn't used his
played
boots
on
yet.
that turn itself, maybe playing around a potential CNC, but also saying, I want to leave you marked. I want to go into my turn knowing that they're already marked. Because if you have scar tissue in arsenal and you rely on it hitting, well, to do the rest of your turn, you might not actually get the mark depending on your opponent's block. So getting the mark early, actually a very
The problem he's going to have is
minor
actually closing the game.
optimization.
Victor has a
This is
really hard
very,
time
very impactful and
physically
feels
killing his
exactly
I
opponent.
really like how it feels like the value of Arsenal has changed in Flesh and Blood over the last 6 months or so, where so often you're incentivized to just go ahead and use your cards, not always set up for that big 5-card hand. It's kind of a subtle consequence of the book burning, I would say, where you're not trying to just create offensive overlaps. It is more about playing towards the moment. And speaking of playing towards the moment, Fang just doing Fang things right now, buffing up beautifully. and making sure that we do go ahead and pick up a card off of this Savor Bloodshed. 11 is the offer here over top of this Test of Strength.
And don't forget the card draw as well when this hits, because this is almost certainly hitting. We know Chris's arsenal is E-Strike. Could have more staunch responses. Looks like not the case for him in this hand.
Did find a copy of his specialization, the Golden Sun, finally, after all this time. So for Ali, a potential opportunity to pivot here.
I'll take 7.
Also, this Pulverize in hand offers a lot of damage.
You know, normally I would say Golden Sun is a very, very strong pivot. You get to send a bunch of damage at your opponent. That's semi-evasive, but you're against a warrior. Overpower, not so good against a warrior when so many of the cards say attack reaction on them and not action.
Yeah, it could just be numbers here for Ali on the next turn cycle, but has to face down this second Obsidian Fire Vein, unfortunately, and that means a Valiant Dynamo refresh. That means more damage on offer. Here we see the Pulverize put out, but there is once again a reaction. Blistering Blade going to push us up to 5, and Ayali falls down to just 9 now.
And once again, both players know about Oath of Loyalty in the arsenal from Andrew's side, thanks to the clash.
That's why I have 2.
Okay.
Excuse me, 13, so maybe a little bit of a misrepresentation there in the life totals, but still, Ayali getting down into those vulnerable ranges. Let's see what the offer is here. Would like to come up with some big numbers for sure. Gonna go ahead and look to refresh off the gold.
What is the find?
Finds
Another
a blue.
Okay, convert that E-Strike, go again, send the Golden Sun as well with
Sure,
Overpower.
seems clean.
Quite a
Seems
bit
like
of
a good way for Ali to get back into the mix here.
And remember, Fang does run a fair number of instants as well. If you catch Andrew out on an instant heavy hand when you send a whole bunch of damage like this with Overpower as well, you could just sneakily get the game. This is
I almost
turning
wonder
out
if
to
it's
be a
better holding on to
national
the
nail
E-Strike
biter,
here, so that way you can make sure that your next hand converts if opponent blocks out.
Tooth of the Dragon, that's an instant. Are some decent blocks though in hand.
Yep. And here's where the Overpower is actually being relevant. There's 2 actions in Andrew's hand. Would like to block with, you know, but might want to block with both of them since they both block 3. Also, double, when there's an Oath of Loyalty in Arsenal as well, the second one in hand can be quite a bit of a break. So we see one of those Oaths already being used to block over here, alongside some armor. Andrew going to some precarious life totals. Remember, Chris also is sporting pummels in that list as well. If you go too low without a defense reaction to back up the opponent's attacks, game could just slip out of your fingers.
Is 1 too low, Punkage?
I think so, yeah. 1 is, when you every on-hit just as on-hit death at that point.
That's a scary spot to be in, but that must mean the fireworks are coming here from Andrew, and Chris is in the range where he may have to make perfect blocking decisions for the rest of this game.
Still 1 more hunts end remaining. We spoke about pummels on Chris's side to punish Andrew's low life totals. I mean, you want to talk about attack reacts. You're not beating a warrior in that game. Once you get too low, it's going to be very, very tough for you to make your blocking decisions. Quick dodge flexes, though, hasn't been used yet, and will help a lot for the tricksiness of Fang.
Happy to have that in the late game is Ali. Been very patient. Chris, of course, coming off a top 8 over in Taipei, took the trip over there. Maybe the only person in the world flying as much as myself right now. Maybe Manson as well.
Chris Ali doing a quick graveyard check on this Oath of Loyalty. Oath of Loyalty not likely to be pumped, not too many pumps.
What do you think he's checking for? Is he checking Hunt's Ends here? Is that the card you really have to account for?
I think he's trying to map out the rest of the damage this turn. Oath of Loyalty, 0 for 4, go again. That's kind of face up. Fang doesn't really play pumps for Oath of Loyalty. So he's trying to map out the rest of the damage coming in this turn. But it's so hard to do that against
Is there
Fang.
some value in just taking
This feels
the
like a
block
Boots
here,
turn.
Punkage, where it's basically guaranteed?
I think you're waiting to find a turn where there's a physical attack or go again to get the boots in, so that way you guarantee 3 blocks with it. Surely this is a boots turn.
And not subjecting yourself to something like an Obsidian Fire Vein sidestep?
I think so. Looks like quick dodge flexes. I think he's recognized that this is the turn for the quick dodge flexes. Gets 6 points of value from 1 blue, and the card also helps with sidestepping as well.
So if you're in Andrew's seat, how do you play around this quick dodge flexes? Is your priority to go tall on this particular link?
So Tooth of the Dragon with Blood of the Drakai actually gives him so much flexibility. He could actually have the second dagger come in, get buffed by Tooth of the Dragon, or have the Blood of the Drakai be pumped by Tooth of the Dragon. So the agency is on his side. He doesn't make any decisions right now. He sees how Chris blocks. And if Chris doesn't block, then he's like, I go tall here.
No blocks from Chris. Just kicks things off here with the blistering blade. Quick dog flexors, of course, going to hop links now. Yeah. I want to call out Ali's hand, Ponkage. He's got a pummel. And whenever you get to these late game states, like, look, pummels are generally pretty easy to read. You can go ahead and suss them out. Something like gold can help obscure them a little bit if you burn through a bunch of gold. And I wonder if Ali can find a window to just get a little cheesy with it and sneak through that pummel for that last bit of damage he has to do.
Play a Tooth of the Dragon.
Goes up to 2, 1 being leaked over, and then this Blood of Drukai would be lethal, would come in for 7. However, Chris does have the 1 floating to pay once more into quick dodge flexes and not need to give a card from hand if he wants to resolve that pummel, which it looks like he really wants to do.
Yeah, there's a bit of a question here as to whether Ali should jump now, but wisely reads the additional attack in hand. It is offering lethal, but as you mentioned, Ponkage, Flexor's going to be the bailout, and Ali stays alive at 2, gets to fire at Andrew Wilborn with 3 cards in hand. I really want to check the draw here from Andrew. Tooth of the Dragon, Searing Gaze, Affirm Loyalty for the Drukai. Not a great defending hand.
Is insulated from overpower, which you might be thinking if you're on Andrew's side. Chris just took a bunch of damage. Does he want to send a Golden Sun to try and close that out? So if you're on Andrew's side, you're actually maybe not too sad to see a bunch of reacts in case Chris goes for an overpower play. However, oh, I mean, he is holding a Golden Sun as well.
He has the Golden Sun, yeah. So we'll see if that's what Chris is relying on to get the job done here. Starts things off with the gold, picking up a fresh card here. It's a red in Spinal Crush. And now his hand has gotten completely ineffective, Ponkage.
Now he can't resolve either Golden Sun or the pummel.
You just grab gold again?
Yeah, does he have to go back in for gold?
Might have to. You have to. You can't just send a hammer.
He is.
This game
Draw one more time. Golden Sun again.
Oh, top of the deck right now for Chris. Not serving him very well. Needs to dig for those blues. You need the gold to effectively be one resource, like gaining one resource, like semi-energy potions.
He's got another one, and he goes back in one more time and picks up another red, Ponkage.
And this is one of those spots where in Chris's seat, we're just thinking you could have just gone for the hammer pummel play.
Oh, and look at his face. You have to feel for Ali here. There was a cheeky, clean line, but he went aggressive. And look, I think correctly so. I don't think the hammer pummel was going to get the job done. And Chris gambled a little bit, but punished so hard with nothing but yellows and reds off the top of the deck. And now this attack's sure to be anemic from Ali.
No blues from the top of the deck in your Guardian deck.
Well, I don't think we need to watch the rest of that one. I think we can figure out what happens after that. That's quite unfortunate. That's quite unlucky. Sorry, Chris. But yeah, that's it for stream today. I'm going to be doing some more streaming later this week, probably tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. I'll be doing some more sorting while we watch these games, and then work on Gravy Bones. So thank you so much for watching, anyone that's still here, and